Chapter 381. I continue to stare down at the floor, pondering what to say back to Litha's offer. Then, I turn to Maria, and she speaks in a soft tone while still holding on to my left arm from earlier in the meeting. Whatever your decision is, I'll follow it. I nod in response. I know. I just need some more time to think about this. At all this news and life-changing decisions that have been thrown at me all of a sudden, I almost feel sick to my stomach. I turn back to Lith. I'd like to train in the high-grade dungeons you mentioned you had access to. A good workout and training session would be enough to clear my mind and think things through. He smiles back at me and stands from his seat. Very well. Seems reasonable to me. He turns to Maria. You can show him to the dungeon access portal. I'm sure both of you have a lot to talk about. Ding. Before Maria can respond, the white wall behind us opens up, and an elevator door swings open to let out a green-haired woman emitting an impressive aura. I turn my head at the sound and appraise a level 604 hunter with healing and earth magic. Then see the much more matured face and athletic body of Abby, my other teammate. As my eyes meet hers, the corner of her lips turns up into a smile. Look who decided to finally wake up out of their early grave. She practically skips out from the elevator door and comes over to the couch, placing a hand on both Maria's and my back, glowing with a faint green light. Simultaneously, I feel all the leftover fatigue from my fight in the arena go away, and hear Abby speak again. I watched both your matches on the big screen downstairs. Now I'm itching to try out my chances at fighting one of those monsters in the 7th stage too. She laughs, then comes around to the other side of the couch to greet us. Lith stands up from his desk and looks at me before walking toward the elevator himself. Well, enjoy, Jay. Consider my offer and enjoy the amenities for the time being. I do hope we get the chance to work together soon. I have a busy day tomorrow, so I'm going to take a quick dip in the isolation pods before the sun comes up. There's a click and a ding, followed by the elevator going down. I wonder what he's talking about, but assume it's just some more fancy tech. I'm more focused on the arrival of another one of my teammates. After a short greeting, it's clear my mind is in turmoil, and Abby points to the door Lith just left through. I just finished up a training session, but I'd like to come and watch the two of you if you're planning on a late-night dungeon dive. Maybe I'll even go for round 2. I nod. Yes, bring me there. The story has been illicitly taken. Should you find it on Amazon, report the infringement. All 3 of us board the elevator, and it flies downward faster than it went up. Any normal human would be scared out of their minds and most definitely break a few bones on impact when the floor stops. I brace myself and don't say anything, but Abby chuckles at my small facial reactions. You get used to it. The door swings open, and we're brought into another blinding white room. Inside, there are 3 stairways that lead downward with letters on the floor right in front of them.
11, 211, 201, 411, 401, 600.
The labeling is pretty self-explanatory, but Maria points to the large transport platform to their left side with a big bucket full of shimmering crystals next to it. Oh yeah, take one, or even a few of these just in case we get in trouble. These are the transport crystals that will bring us right back to the lobby. This platform can bring us to the train station in the town below the mountain if you want to leave the city. I assume that's how you got to Sector 1, right? I nod, grabbing a handful of crystals and putting them into my item storage. Right, never know, I guess. Abby and Maria both take one for themselves. Then we all walk down the LV.401-600 stairway. It leads down almost 10 meters, and to my surprise, there's another small transport circle on the ground and a wall behind it. We all hop on, and as the white light blinks and transports us away, I hear Maria's voice begin explaining. Where we're going can be considered the Valor City Dungeon Hub. Though it's not really called that, that's just how I think of it. The white flash ceases, and we're all standing in a very dimly lit underground cave. There are faint glows of blue portals nearby, and the cave system itself is overflowing with mana. I pull out my sword and light the tip with a bright flame to make it easier to see, and Abby begins to speak up as we walk over to one of the nearby dungeon portals. We're deep below the city right now, The corrupted royal guards sometimes come down here in the day, but as long as you don't antagonize them, they won't bother you much. This is shared territory by everyone within the inner city. If you have access to a portal that comes down here, you won't be interrogated. However, if you go missing, there won't be any questions asked either. I expand my all-seeing eye to study the entire cave system. There seem to be over a dozen portals in various points. The ceiling is almost 20 meters high in certain areas and as low as 2 meters in others. As we step up to one of the strongest mana-reading portals, I sense the abundance of a high chi concentration deep down one of the cave's pathways as well. Nowhere near as much as Monk's Fortress, but far more than anywhere else I've ventured since I've awakened this new sense. Maria pulls out her sword and starts to glow light blue, almost matching the portal's hue. Alright, ready? It's pretty hot in here. This is the dungeon that holds one of the monsters you fought in the arena, the Red Ogres. The boss monster can sometimes be very close to or just over level 600. This is where I've been doing most of my leveling, buff control practice, and mana control training over the last week. Abby pulses green. Yeah. This is where I just finished up my solo session. Let's head in. She jumps through, then Maria and I follow. The landscape inside is not far from what I expected. A very rocky, mountainous region with very few plants and dark soil. It has unique bright red crystal-like rock structures that pop out of the ground in certain points. These stones are much denser with mana than the surrounding terrain, but far from as pure as actual mana crystals. The air is humid, and the temperature is hot like we're under the desert sun, but there's hardly any light source in the sky. It's mostly gray, giving off just enough light like a very foggy morning. We begin to venture through for no more than 10 minutes, and almost immediately, one of the towering sword-wielding creatures at level 566 comes running at us. It stands tall with an impressive mana shielding and golden glow, showing off its extreme strength skill. Abby and Maria step back to allow me the first kill of the hunt. I take this opportunity to practice my chi a bit more, along with getting used to my swordsmanship buff while I'm at it. Before a second passes, the warm wave of chi and the blood-colored thread connect on the ogre's neck, granting me a small amount of MCP to absorb, followed by a large mana crystal after it dissolves onto the rocky floor being burned away by the residual black flames of my attack. Abby claps slowly, and Maria comes walking over with a grin ear to ear. The moment they do, another ogre's roar rings out from not too far away. Abby turns to it, summoning a spear of stone in her right hand. Another one so soon? Dibs. This one's mine. It looks like we're going to have a busy session today. She starts sprinting away as we agree. Once she's out of earshot, Maria asks me a question. Hey Jay, do you think I could try out more of your skills? Like you did back in the hotel suite with self-regeneration, but with something combat-related. Do you have anything that might improve my current fighting style? I pick up the mana crystal from the ground that dropped from the fallen beast, then think about her question very carefully. While throwing the stone up and down in my hand as I walk closer, an idea comes to mind. A skill that could potentially make her and every one of my teammates exponentially stronger if it works how I think it will. Maybe, I think I have just the one. Chapter 382. I think about my Rising Emperor's domain buff and look at Maria to watch the blue text stats notification pop up the moment I summon them into my consciousness. Let's see what happens when I do this. I remove the self-regeneration skill from Maria's status, making all of its buffs and capabilities go away with it. I stare at her for a moment, then raise the question. How do you feel? It's only been a few hours since we were drinking. Is the alcohol in your system still negated? She looks around for a moment, then takes a few steps forward in a straight line, followed by a shrug. I think so. Why? I'm just trying to make sure whatever skill I give you, the effects will last. I think to myself while scrolling through my list of skills, then finally land on absorption. If self-regeneration had long-lasting effects, it would make sense that absorption would allow users to keep skills that they obtain while using it even after the skill is taken away. I'm going to let you in on a secret. It's even more important you never tell a soul this, even more than my ranked-up buff. She nods without a hint of hesitation. Whatever it is, my mouth will always be shut. She makes a cute motion of locking her mouth with her hand and throwing away an imaginary key, while the plumes of green mist pour out around her from my lie detector skill, proving without a doubt she's giving the honest truth. Try this. I press absorption on the long list of blue glowing available stats, and they all go gray once it's added. It seems like sharing one skill at a time is my limit. I recheck the description of my ranked up buff with my all-seeing eye because I don't remember any limitations like this. Rising Emperor's Domain, Hidden Ability. Info. This is a hidden passive ability for a spellcaster with the traits of an Emperor in the making. The Rising Emperor's Domain allows the caster to share skills in their status with any party member who has sworn their loyalty. A copy of the exact skill shared will appear in the party member's status. If this member betrays the caster or leaves the domain's range, the skills will be deleted from their status. Just like the size of the active radius circle, there's no mention of this limitation that can be seen. My only guess is it will grow in power in time. The name itself gives the notion that this is only the beginning of this skill's potential. While reading the status, Maria speaks up when she sees a new skill on her status. Legendary Grade Absorption? Wait, what kind of skill is this? I sense another red ogre about 200 meters to our east, and point in that direction. I'll have to stay fairly close to you while you use it. It's not a combat skill, but it will be very valuable. We can't be more than 20 meters apart. But take out that monster like normal, and you'll know exactly what the skill can do once the match is over. If you find this story on Amazon, be aware that it has been stolen. Please report the infringement. In a white and blue flash, the battle is over almost as quickly as it started. A massive ice sculpture covers the ogre and it shatters to pieces before it can even attack Maria back. Once its remains begin to dissolve, she stares down at where the mana crystal spawns with her eyes open wide. Is this real? I sense a flow of energy surging into her body, and note down that it must be the MCP absorption perk activating after killing an enemy. Next, Maria picks up the mana crystals and shimmers with a golden glow. My appraisal skill picks up a legendary extreme strength skill on her status, the skill the red ogre was using just moments ago. The corner of my lip turns upward to unconsciously start grinning ear to ear. This will be a way to raise our mana control exponentially quicker and cheaper than buying special stones or mana crystals on the open market. Each kill brings in tens to hundreds of thousands of MCP. Stronger monsters could even bring in millions per kill. On top of that, if the skills gained during the buff stay on the user's status even after the buff is deactivated, this could be a truly overpowered perk. I'm going to deactivate it now. I need to test something. Maria stares in awe at her status as I walk out of range, deactivating the Emperor's link. Before my eyes, both absorption and extreme strength disappear from her status on my appraisal skill. My eyebrows scrunch and I reactivate it, walking closer again and giving her absorption for a second time. When it reappears on her status, extreme strength doesn't show up. How odd. Maria gazes up at me, stretching her arms and legs. I still kept the mana control if that's what you were trying to test. It isn't much, but I feel slightly stronger, like I just absorbed a dozen of those blue ogre essence crystals we all used a while back. At this rate, I could double my control after beating just a few hundred monsters of this level. I nod, scratching my chin. Well, at least there are some perks that still stay. My mind goes racing as I ponder the possibility that maybe it needs to be upgraded further to allow others to share the ability to permanently gain skills. Or maybe it will only work within my domain radius forever. Only time will tell. I let out a sigh after not coming to a precise conclusion. I'd like to do some more tests. I need to make my way up past level 600 like you and Abby, then make it back to a meeting in the city before noon. As we continue to talk, Abby approaches carrying a large mana crystal along with a sword dropped by the red ogre she just fought. Both get placed in her item box before she waves and yells out from afar. Hey, we facing the boss? Or using your teleport skill to go farm in the Vice City Labyrinth? I cross my arms and can't help but to let out a laugh. I missed this. It's good to be back with both of you. I think both of those options are a great idea. We'll go and face the red ogre boss, then climb the labyrinth as far as we can go. However, I have to fill you in on a few things before we do. I spend the next 10 minutes explaining and showing Abby how my ranked-up buff works too. Her reaction is similar to Maria's, but a bit more eccentric. Finally, I've been wishing I could use that skill of yours since we met at the association building back in your hometown. It's a shame the skills aren't permanent, but rapid mana control growth is probably even more powerful if you think about it. We spend the next hour making our way through the Red Ogre dungeon, taking out all of the monsters we see on our way to the boss portal. We take it moderately slow, and I tell a few stories about what kind of trouble I got into while trying to make my way to Valor City. This includes the info about Monk, my run-in with royal guards in the arena, and the training I've been going through to attempt to procure my own soul energy with a power source called Chi before the borrowed soulstone energy we're using runs out. Neither of them has ever heard of anything like it, similar to the position I was in when I first met Monk. But they agree to come along with me to the meeting tomorrow to request that Monk teaches this power to them as well. Though we mostly focus on the time we have now in the dungeons and enjoy the moment. Each of us gains millions of MCP, and Maria and Abby become overjoyed by the use of temporary legendary extreme strength buffs while we train. I get to witness how far they've come, but also keep picturing a ghoul glowing orange in place of the monsters in front of me every time I make a chi-infused strike. I focus on making each attack denser than the last, and overflow with energy, but my attacks stay almost exactly the same. I'll need to face the real thing to make any substantial progress. We make it to the boss room portal and Abby points to it with a raised glowing fist. Here we are, the strongest dungeon boss in the city. Once you max out your level gains here, we'll have to move to the labyrinth to continue progressing. We all grip our weapons and jump through. Chapter 383. Level up, level up, level up, level up, plus 1 PP. Level up, level up, level up, level up, level up, level up, plus 1 PP. Level up, level up, level up, plus 29046. 990 MCP. After farming the Red Ogre King boss over 3 dozen consecutive times along with its 2 mutant subordinates that spawn with it in the boss room, I raise my level to 599. While dungeon walking back to the portal to face it again after every victory, I realized that along with excessive MCP gains, I started to gain an additional proficiency point every few matches too. The conditions of this perk are that every time I defeat an opponent of a higher level than my own, there's a 5% chance they will drop 1 PP. Considering the only other way I can gain these points is the standard plus 1 per level up. Fighting monsters 1 level above me to get a maximum chance of extra points would be the optimal method of farming. Sharing the EXP gain with Maria and Abby in the boss room after I surpass the boss maximum level spawn rate of roughly 598 allows me to farm this stat for longer. Once I pass this limit and tell my teammates, Abby is the first to speak up. Alright, let's go. Let's go to the labyrinth. They both take my wrists, and we teleport to the highest floor I have access to, the Gargoyle Dungeon on the 21st floor. After my first kill, the notification box for upgrading my skill pops up. Use Absorption. Skill. Lifesteal. Upgrade. Legendary grade. Yes. No. After accepting and trying it out on my next opponent, I realize the range and strength of the skill have increased very drastically. As long as my base of mana control is much higher than my opponent, and they're within close range of my aura, their HP can be completely drained and added to mine in seconds. Abby and Maria absorb the skill too and try it out on monsters that appear nearby as we make our way to the boss room that leads up to floor 22. Before entering, I stop in place and voice a thought. Now wait for a moment. I need to check something. I think to myself, activating my Dungeon Walker skill while opening my status and making a mental note of every available dungeon I still have on record and available for transport. I look back at the swirling boss room portal, then to Abby and Maria. You climbed this dungeon before to rank up, right? If you were to estimate, how high up will we have to climb to reach the level 600 mobs? Maria scratches her head and ponders for a moment before responding. The author's content has been appropriated. Report any instances of this story on Amazon. I think floor 27 or maybe 28. Around there is where we'll all start to level up again. Well, assuming this labyrinth goes that high. I nod. It definitely should. I believe it's well over 40 floors if what Chester said about it a while back is true. Abby interjects. So we're climbing? Or what? I nod. Yeah, but you two go on without me. I'll catch up before you make it to any of the exciting floors, I promise. I need to do a few errands and upgrade my skills while we have this leisure time. Sure. I guess we needed a head start anyway. Race you to floor 27. Abby smirks and jumps through the boss portal. Maria waves and jumps through too. Sounds good to me, Jay. See ya. Then I'm left in the silence of the light green gargoyle dungeon all alone. I take a deep breath, then start my hunt to upgrade every single skill on my status that still has a dungeon available to farm it. Checking through all 20 floors below me, then each dungeon I managed to get into in the wilderness of Sector 4 and the Solaran Dungeon Hub. After all of these, obtaining legendary dual-wielding and dagger arts allow me to do similar subconscious movements following an attack line with both smaller and multiple blades like my swordsmanship skill. One of the most notable skills I gain is the legendary version of Final Breath, the skill used by the 19th floor Berserker King boss. All of the buffs from previously are boosted by an additional 100%, but so are the side effects. I plan on never trying this skill again. It was hardly worth using the last time. However, it can't hurt to have the option in case of emergency. After this, I circle back to the Vice region in full disguise and blip in and out of the Vice city's available farming dungeons with impressive skills. The most notable finds here were the Slime Dungeon and Troll Dungeon. With an upgraded Plunderer skill, my speed and rate of MP absorption nearly quadrupled. With every new breath I take, even outside the dungeons, a passive feature of the skill now takes in mana from any environment I'm present in until my MP bar is full. Self-regeneration now has an added HP recovery feature to it as well. It takes up a considerable amount of MP and adds mental and physical fatigue to the user after the HP is restored. But this may come in handy if I'm without HP potions or any nearby enemies to steal health from. Lastly, I do a final sweep of the dungeons in my hometown. There isn't much here that I don't already have, but managed to upgrade one more from an old Bat Cave dungeon I farmed with Abby a long time ago. Legendary enemy detection is obtained. Instead of just the depiction of small dots on a map in my mind's eye, a crystal clear image of my enemy is visible to me like video footage as long as there is enough mana present in their body to pinpoint them. In this moving image, their level and skills are visible too. I'm easily able to see around dark corners, or even halfway across a dungeon, pinpointing enemies before they know I exist. It feels like an upgraded version of my all-seeing eye combined with a basic appraisal and inspect skill. However, it only works on living beings and cannot see the mana flowing through them, only an external image. Happy with my incredible progress in just 2 hours of farming, I take a look at my skills while dungeon walking back to the 21st floor of the labyrinth. Skills: Absorption, Legendary Grade. Swordsmanship, Legendary Grade. Combat Magic, Advanced Fire Summoning. Inspect, Special Grade. Enemy Detection, Legendary Grade, E-New. Body Hardening, Legendary Grade. Self-Regeneration, Legendary Grade, E-New. Spatial Magic, Item Storage. Plunder, Legendary Grade, E-New. Telekinesis, Appraisal, Special Grade. Conceal, Special Grade. Berserker, Legendary Grade. Dungeon Walker, Special Grade. Intimidation, Legendary Grade. Dagger Mastery, Legendary Grade, E-New. Stealth, Legendary Grade. Bloodlust, Legendary Grade. Equivalent Exchange. Combat Magic, Wind Summoning. All-Seeing Eye. Extreme Strength, Legendary Grade. Dual Wielding, Legendary Grade, E-New. Telepathy, Legendary Grade. Final Breath, Legendary Grade, E-New. Combat Magic, Advanced Earth Summoning. Combat Magic, Advanced Mana Manipulation. Life Steal, Legendary Grade, New. Hibernation, Special Grade. Combat Magic, Advanced Demonic Energy Manipulation. Combat Magic, Advanced Ice Summoning. Body double, special grade. Lie detector, legendary grade. Hush, legendary grade. Craftsmanship, mythic grade. There are still a few skills left on special grade and no grade, but they're from very rare dungeons that have disappeared in Break and Labyrinths, while other skills were farmed directly from humans. I'll have a hard time finding upgrade options for them, but now I'll be much more diligent and on the watch. If I'm completely out of luck, I can always upgrade them manually, but saving up proficiency points for a later date is a smarter decision for now. I don't desperately need anything to be upgraded for the time being. I close my status and smile while opening up my item storage. Ember flaps his wings and flies up into the dungeon sky. Well, now that the hard part is all done, let's have some fun. As I open our link, my fight companion responds. It seems you've been quite busy again. A solid amount of level ups, and I see the black scaled dragon's toothy grin from over 100 meters in the air as he raises a question, but clearly already knows the answer. Is that chi in your body I sense? Chapter 384. It is chi. I peer up at my partner in the sky and do a full body scan, expecting to see a monstrous wave of chi flowing through Ember as well. Every time I get a new power-up, he seems to know something about it or straight up already have it himself and keep it a secret from me. However, there's no such thing in his system. The core where chi would be is empty. The only thing remotely close is a hint of energy with the same reading as my red Hydra's buff circling around his eyes. It's like a miniature pocket of soul energy, but just as fast as I see it, it dissipates like it was never even there. Ember flaps his wings and comes down near me. Then I notice his eyes flare up with the same crimson aura momentarily again while he touches the ground and looks me up and down. What did you manage to do? Find an originator's tomb or something? I didn't even know natural sources of chi were still around in this era. We both stand on opposite sides of the tallest white marble pillar, raised high above the rest of the gargoyle dungeon. The slowly turning boss room portal lets off a light buzz behind me as I think of a response. No, I didn't find a tomb. I just met a friend who gave me this power. Ember lets out a resounding laugh through our telepathy link. What friend? The Demon King? There hasn't been anyone in centuries in control of the origin particle other than him. Since that demon took control of all the tombs, humans have been confusing legends of its power with demonic energy and trying to hoard those black stones like gold. Come to think of it, we're not even at level 600 yet. So I know he didn't grant you soul essence as he did me in a past life. Ember pauses. So you really found someone that can wield chi? I assume that's why we're back in this labyrinth. We have some leveling work to do, don't we? I nod slowly at his last line, but so much of what Ember just said went right over my head. Well, yes, I'm in a hurry to get up to the 27th floor, but that can wait. This is more important. Explain everything you just said, in full detail. I've never gotten a clear answer about all of this. Let's back it up to when you first mentioned soul energy, like when I managed to absorb the red Hydra soul stone. This is essence granted by some powerful demon. Ember nods his head slowly, walking over very close to me. Yes, the most powerful demon there is. I don't believe you could fathom his strength at your current level. There's a lot to get through, and if you're in a rush, maybe we should climb while I talk. I take out my sword and air step onto Ember's back. Fine, good idea. Let's go. We blip through the boss room portal and face the gargoyle boss without breaking a sweat. I channel my chi while Ember summons even more of the crimson aura around his talons for a split second to attack one of the mutant spawns that tries to attack us. While both lay on the ground motionless and we wait for them to dissolve, Ember continues his point. What you're using is a basic pure form of chi. If it's in your system, I'd assume you can now sense my soul energy as well even when I don't make it fully visible to your mana senses. My eyes dart from his eyes to his claws and I nod, giving him more than enough of an answer to continue. Well, the two are very similar, but not exactly the same. We teleport to the next dungeon and begin flying through the air straight to the boss room once I do a scan and find that the monsters below have nothing but body hardening skills. Chi is the essence of a fundamental power known as soul energy. All basic Qi users have the same tricks in their arsenals. Block, bash, imbue. Although these attacks in their basic forms can trump mana or demonic energy even twice or 3 times their relative power, it is not the true peak evolutionary state. Once Qi rests in your body for long enough, and you begin to control it as instinctively as breathing, your being melds with the energy and you will awaken a unique form of Qi. A soul energy awakening is what many of the divine beasts call it. If you come across this story on Amazon, be aware that it has been stolen from Royal Road. Please report it. As we approach the next boss room portal, Ember charges a claw with the crimson aura again and sends a dense ball of it down at a tree on a nearby mountaintop. As it makes impact, the entire tree melts away, and the mountainside bursts with very lightly tinted red-orange flames. From here, it looks like the flames are almost transparent, but they're destroying everything they touch. An attack like this is irreversible. My soul energy has the ability to cleanse with fire. Not even the dungeon's natural regeneration can heal something like this. As my strength grows greater back to my old form, its abilities will become stronger once again too. My eyes widen as I watch the side of the mountain continue to melt away. We take out the next boss together and continue soaring through the next floor before I get the mental clarity to ask another question. So, what are the odds that once I awaken my soul energy, I become immortal, like you? Ember laughs as we both burst into flames to negate the frosty blizzard winds of the floor 23 dungeon. 0. It takes a bit more than just wielding Qi to negate the rules of death. That process was a lot more complicated, and I think a story better saved for another day. Well, at least tell me how long it would take to awaken this soul energy if I already have Qi flowing through me? And if I can't do it very soon, how can I defeat a monster with soul energy granted by one of these divine beasts, similar to my Red Hydra's buff? I've been having trouble. Just making my attacks denser or filled with more Qi isn't enough. Ember turns his head while flying to look back at me for a moment. You're fighting someone now with the power of a soul stone too? What other divine beast died while I was asleep? He chuckles and turns back as we arrive at another boss room in mere minutes. I respond while jumping through. Oh, they're not dead yet, and I don't know if they're one of these divine beasts you keep talking about. It's the Lich King if that makes it more clear. I've been battling its subordinates for a few days, but can't manage to defeat one without using my borrowed energy. I need to find a way to beat one only using Qi. Once we appear on the other side of the portal, instantly melting the ice-wielding monster to the floor, Ember responds in a surprised tone. The Lich King, huh? It hasn't come around to play in forever. This might actually be interesting. We teleport to a new dungeon filled with sand. Enormous golems erupt from the ground as Ember takes flight again, soaring over the 24th floor. However, you're nowhere near strong enough to face it. I recommend you don't go back to whatever region you were fighting its subordinates in. Not even as a fun training exercise. If we both went all out right now, I doubt we'd even land a finger on that monster. I bet it's watching you fight with its underlings and laughing on its throne. If you've killed its mindless monster slaves and haven't received a response, it doesn't even consider you as a threat. I gulp at the sound of this, remembering just moments ago when Ember literally disintegrated a mountain with a power I didn't know existed until today. Wouldn't stand a chance? He shakes his head and I don't push the point further. I just sit and think to myself as the artificial desert sun beats down on me from above. We take out the golem boss without issue, then soar through the 25th floor full of fast-moving lizard creatures wielding blades and spears. Unfortunately, their speed only comes from a ranked-up buff, while most of them use dagger arts and dual wielding, which is already fully upgraded for me. We take out this level 556 boss without an issue and move on to the next dungeon. I'm going to train with the man that gave me Qi later today, but do you have any advice or training methods for me? How can I expedite the process of awakening my soul energy? The mountainous region of the 26th floor passes below us as Ember responds. There's really no secret. It just takes time, many years of growing and training with the Qi inside you. You'll have to step back from this one and take things slow. Not what I wanted to hear. There must be some way to expedite the process. After a ride of silence, we defeat the level 589 boss together, and the 27th floor's transport magic is just waiting to be triggered. Alright, I'll be meeting back up with my teammates now to do some slow-level grinding, but good talk. If there's an actual tough battle ahead, I'll summon you back out. Ember nods as I open my spatial magic. Again, this is a real warning. Wherever you are out in the world right now, I recommend you turn back until you've gotten much stronger. Don't go picking a fight with the Lich King unless you know what you're up against. I assure you, you don't. Ember disappears into my item storage, and the white transfer magic of the boss room brings me up to the next floor. A million things cross my mind, like all the reasons these countries and businesses are really after demonic energy because they mistake it for some old legends of a god particle Ember mentioned. The potential that my new abilities have excites me, but the biggest looming thought of all is the constant warning Ember gives about the enemy that controls Valor City. There seems to be very good reason people are calling it the Dark One. Maybe leaving town while I'm still not a nuisance to get stronger out in Sector 2 wouldn't be such a bad idea. My thoughts come to an abrupt halt as the transfer magic finishes. The light dissipates and I take in my surroundings to see Maria standing proud with both hands on her hips and Abby letting out a laugh to herself in a joking tone. Haha, beat ya. I knew we'd make it to this floor first. Chapter 385. The floor below my feet is glossy and clear with the faintest blue tint, as if I'm standing on a frozen lake. Maria and Abby stand on a raised ice sculpture, a creation of the blonde-haired hunter's magic. The entire dungeon around us doesn't look much different. As I activate my fire to counter the cold, plumes of steam start coming off my body, and each step I take sinks into the ground, lightly melting the icy floor. After a quick scan of the area, I find dozens of level 600 to 608 mobs within 3 kilometers of us. With the new high-definition senses of my enemy detection skill, I can see they are all frost blue serpents slithering over the ice. Each has deep royal blue eyes and a change in scale pattern around their heads, tinted gold to resemble a small crown. The moment my heat waves and the radiation from my passive intimidation skill enter the dungeon, many enemies turn our way. Some even shift colors to a metallic silver as they activate a body-hardening skill and lock eyes in our general direction. Looks like we have company already. Level up. Level up. Level up. Level up. +1 PP. Level up. Level up. Level up. Level up. Level up. +44. 120. 650 MCP. The monsters are incredibly quick and agile, but with my buffs on full blast and a dungeon full of mana to consume, my abilities match and surpass theirs with ease. I reach level 608 and gain an additional 1 PP from my absorption perk. The 3 of us fight in a group, starting off by sprinting from monster to monster. Then, once points are set, I dungeon walk us from opponent to opponent, taking turns on monsters so my teammates can stay within my domain and keep their skills and MCP absorption perks. Farming alone might be a little faster, but it's not too much of a time suck. They can both take out their enemies in 1 to 2 hits, and the serpents travel in groups of 1 to 3, so sometimes it's in our best interest to fight together. I work on my chi control a bit, but even my normal chi-infused sword strikes are more than enough to obliterate the opponent. This session is more about raising my level and gaining more base stat points. A few monsters drop an item called Ice Serpent Scale with 2 stats on it, plus 80% ice magic resistance, plus 50% all magic resistance. I place 5 of them into my item storage to sell another time and don't think twice about the drops in this dungeon until I hear Maria scream in excitement after about an hour of farming. I got one. Look at this. A large serpent dissolves by Maria's feet, and what's left in its place is a dark royal blue stone pouring out heavy plumes of light blue mist. As I approach and my footsteps melt the icy floor, the waves of energy coming off the crystal refreeze the puddles into their original solid form. I cross my arms and reply as Maria lifts it in the air with the tip of her sword. An ice element stone. Pretty rare one, and extremely strong too, from a level 605 monster. A case of theft. This story is not rightfully on Amazon. If you spot it, report the violation. Yeah, maybe I could make a new weapon out of this or some armor, or some interesting gear from one of the craftsmen back in Valor City. I nod but don't reply for a moment as I think. My sword took in over half a dozen firestones, upgrading its power to a whole new level. If the drop rate of these ice stones is close to 1% as it seems, Maria could farm a ton of these gems and make an overpowered set if she knew this was possible. She turns to me while I ponder. Hey Jay, could you hold this for me in your storage system? I don't want it to lose its power, and I don't have a containment case on me. I nod, opening up a small spatial magic portal and letting her drop it off her sword to fall inside. After, there's another pause as it's clear I have something to say, but both Abby and Maria are waiting for me to say it. You know, I was the one that killed the Sector 2 leader. I absorbed his craftsmanship skill. I deactivate the domain to cancel out their current shared skills and add the craftsmanship skill to their status to show them exactly what I'm talking about. Abby's eyes go wide as she stares down at her status and pulls a few dropped items out of her storage. In a matter of seconds, and a small white flash of light, old useless dropped items in her inventory turn into high-quality black glossy daggers. Maria looks through it too, pulling out a few items of her own to test out. While they look down at their status screens in awe, I smile, pulling out the 5 serpent scales I farmed from the mobs in the dungeon earlier, and add them all together on a single craft selection to create a pendant. The option goes gray once I add my 3rd scale. So, it seems I either need to be of a higher level to merge more of these, or this is just the maximum I can craft for this specific item. Slots to add a blood bond as well as imbuing skills and element stones still glow blue, ready for use, but I don't click any of them. There's still a lot to learn about this craftsmanship skill. The 3 scales all merge together in a flash of light and create a tiny white pendant with a silver string around it. After a quick appraisal, I see the vast improvement. Enchanted Ice Serpent's pendant, plus 110% agility, plus 75% magic resistance, plus 95% ice magic resistance. I decide to swap out this item I made on a whim for my Serpent King scale, plus 45% agility, plus 45% magic resistance, that I received a long time ago, improving the optimization of my item slots. They basically give the same buffs. My new item is just much better. After swapping pendants, and a few more flashes of light from Abby, Maria looks up at me and raises a question. Mythic grade? This is the skill you got from the Sector 2 leader? Is that why he was said to be an irreplaceable genius craftsman? I've never heard of a skill rank like this. I nod. Yes, it has far more capabilities than any legendary grade skill. Merging items, adding multiple element stones to an already crafted item, and imbuing skills into gear and equipment are a few. Abby looks up. So we wouldn't even need Litha's team of craftsmen then. This is why you're hesitant to take his help, isn't it? Because you could just do it all yourself. She lets out a laugh. Yes, that's part of it. However, I'm definitely considering his offer. There are just going to be some very drastic changes and counterpoints I need to make. I pause. And I think this goes without saying, but not a word of this mythic grade skill to anyone. 2 nods and replies of agreement from Maria and Abby followed by the wisps of green magic from my lie detector skill solidify the point. Then, I bring up why I showed them the skill in the first place. If you want to farm ice element stones, I'm sure it could make an incredible sword. Maybe even an ice-imbued armor set, or something unique. I let my blade flicker. Mine took in quite a few firestones to get to this point. Hopefully, I find another dungeon with firestone drops again soon. The one broke in Sector 4 so I have nowhere to farm them. She looks around the dungeon then replies. I think that's a good idea. How much time do we have until we need to meet with Monk? Well, he's expecting me at around noon. That gives us just under 6 hours to farm, unless we want to try and get a few hours of sleep in between and pick up this session tomorrow. I let out a light laugh, realizing we've pulled an all-nighter. Abby interjects. We can always use the isolation pods before we leave. All of us have really high mana control bases, so it's not like we need as much sleep as lower-level people. An hour or 2 in the pods should rejuvenate us just fine. My restoration magic can take care of the rest. Maria agrees. True, so we have 4 hours to farm. Maybe at this rate, without your dungeon walker skill, I can get 1 or 2 more stones. It's not much if you say each item can hold up to half a dozen. If that's not enough, it's not like this labyrinth is going anywhere anytime soon. I can keep farming until I get what I need. I turn to the direction of the boss room at the back of the dungeon. Then look at Abby. True. Alright, so in the meantime, we should venture up to the next floor and set a few dungeon walker points for ease of access in the future. I turn to Maria. We'll come down to check on the farming every hour or so for updates. She glows light blue in response. Sounds like a plan. Chapter 386. I make sure to reactivate my Rising Emperor's domain buff and give Abby absorption to aid her in farming MCP and more temporary skills as we travel higher up the labyrinth. The level 623 ice-wielding Serpent King boss is taken out in a single blow. Level up. I gain a single level, bringing me to 609. The excited look on Abby's face shows she gained a level 2. We're teleported into the next dungeon, and the scenery isn't like anything I've ever seen before. The ground is fairly even, but colored a pale red. There are some large structures in the distance that block off areas, making it seem as if there's only one path to travel in this dungeon. There are no trees or plants in sight, just the crimson-colored stone. It's almost pink, but is dark enough to contrast with the white sky and radiates just enough mana to give an eerie feeling. As I take a step forward, I feel the grip on the bottom of my boots is more secure than ever. Feels like I'm on a track field, ready to sprint. The floor is covered in tiny little bumps, and the further we walk in, the more odd this place becomes. Approaching the first large rock structure, I can see multiple pathways that go right through it, twisting and turning, but all making it to the same endpoint on the other side. There's even the faint pathway of a trail going around the rocks, looking as if all of this is man-made. I activate my enemy detection skill and get to the bottom of this mystery in an instant. In the entire dungeon, there are no more than 10 monsters in total, and they seem to be traveling in groups, and at speeds faster than any creature I've detected before. Get ready to fight, and go all out. These ones are fast. There's silence in the air, but Abby does as I say, getting her earth magic ready, glowing light green while looking around the dungeon with a curious gaze. Any second now, 2 of them are coming our way. Another half a second passes. Then the ground below our feet begins to vibrate and make a rumbling noise. Then, from seemingly nowhere, 2 bright white flashes of light come from 2 separate paths in the rock structure ahead of us. Abby's aura flashes from green to red as she immediately activates her red Hydra's buff. I erupt into flames, activating every single one of my stat-boosting buffs to get a similar effect. It's not until the 2 creatures are less than 20 meters away with their silver long swords drawn that I get a good look at them. They're very humanoid-looking beasts with light red skin that is just a faint shade darker than the rocks and dungeon around us. Standing at roughly my height, but not wearing any clothes or armor. They have no eyes, no mouths, and no distinguishing body features. They're just a pair of arms, legs, and blank faces, carrying long swords. Both are level 630 with 2 skills, Legendary Grade Swordsmanship and Legendary Grade Extreme Speed. They don't make a sound and sprint toward us without any warning or emotion in their steps. As they get even closer, the white aura around them shifts to red, and I witness both of their ranked-up buffs, Crimson Speed, activate, doubling their momentum. Both Abby and I run forward the instant they emerge from the rock formation, and the clash of intense buffs, mana shielding, ranked-up skills, and my own wave of chi imbued in my blade commences. I feel my wave disintegrate the faceless monster before me, and feel Abby's Hydra buff do the same to the one she was facing to my side. However, this doesn't stop the eruption of built-up power that follows. Fire, rock, mana, and blood from our enemies are released, blowing us backward in the blast. Stolen novel. Please report. A warm green glow of energy from Abby heals my fatigue from the attack, and a dense layer of mana shielding around both of us easily protects us from the blast. Level up. Use absorption. Skill. Extreme speed, legendary grade. Yes. No. Use absorption. MCP. 1,521,000. 890. Yes. No. I choose yes on both options, bringing my level to 611 and obtaining a new skill. As the dust clears and Abby's restoration magic fades, I walk over to the place where the item drops will be. That was a bit overkill, don't you think? Abby follows and replies, "Can never be too safe." She pulls up her status, activating the copied extreme speed buff from the mobs we just defeated, and zips around the rock formation in a flash of white light. When she comes back, she deactivates it with an astonished look on her face. 125% speed buff, huh? It drained my MP dry in under 2 seconds, but still, that's a pretty neat skill. She drinks an MP potion from her storage while the 2 monsters dissolve back into the dungeon at our feet, dropping 2 mana crystals along with 1 tiny red stone that's leaking a small amount of white energy. My eyes narrow as I pick it up. Crimson Speed Shard, plus 80% speed. I toss it into my item storage. It has a similar buff percentage as my boots but isn't quite wearable. That was either a really lucky drop, or these red shards have a very high drop rate. Abby shrugs, placing the mana crystal that dropped from her mob into her item box. Well, I guess we'll find out. Level up, level up, level up, level up, plus 1 PP. Level up, level up, level up, level up, level up, level up, plus 1 PP. Level up. Over the next 3.5 hours, we continue to roam around the red-tinted dungeon. I gain an additional 2 proficiency points, and my level rises to 622. The lack of farming speed isn't because the monsters here are difficult to defeat. It's just that their spawn rate is very limited. Once Abby and I have killed the first 10, it takes almost 45 minutes for them to spawn back in. They spawn sporadically and change positions quickly, so once one appears, it turns into a time-consuming hunt and kill mission. On the bright side, the drop rate for the Crimson Speed fragments seems to be roughly 25%. After 40 total kills, 20 each, 10 fragments have dropped. I turn to Abby once we clear the 4th wave, pulling out a few fragments from my storage. I think we're getting close to the time we have to leave. We can pick back up here tomorrow. Simultaneously, I open my crafting status window to see what these fragments can be made into. Mind if I craft us some items from the loot drops? I think I can make some good speed gear with these stones. Go for it. I immediately begin testing. It seems I can merge 3 of them together, just like the scales from the floor below. In a flash of white light, a few of the tiny shards merge together to form a red ring. Enchanted Crimson Ring, plus 110% speed. I toss the ring up and down in my hand while continuing to scroll through the crafting menu and my status until I see the option to upgrade my boots. With a grin on my face, I stack 3 fragments into my boots before the option goes gray. Then, another option pops up, asking which skill I'd like to imbue. I select my newest one, Extreme Speed. After choosing yes on all options, a flash of white light makes my whole body glow, and the fragments merge with my boots, creating a new item skill on my feet. Enchanted Boots of Extreme Speed, plus 152% speed. With 4 fragments left in my hand, I decide to use 3 to make another Enchanted Crimson Ring. 1 for you. I toss the newly crafted one to Abby, then hold the other in the air. And 1 for Maria. I throw the last leftover fragment into my item storage and do some sifting around to look for any old gear that I could swap out for better items while I'm at it. I switch out my old High Ogre King's ring with a 60% mental strength buff for the amulet I received from the Solaren Labyrinth's Frost Dragon. Its stats read, Platinum Amulet of Frost, plus 137% mental strength, plus 90% ice magic strength. I look down at my status, pulling out all my gear to simulate what I'd be wearing in a full-out battle, and nod with a satisfied stare. Items equipped. 12 slots available post-rank up. Current items equipped. Platinum Amulet of Frost, plus 137% mental strength, plus 90% ice magic strength. The Behemoth's Platinum Amulet, plus 111% defense. Enchanted Boots of Extreme Speed, plus 152% speed. Enchanted Ice Serpent's Pendant, plus 110% agility, plus 75% magic resistance, plus 95% ice magic resistance. Platinum Ring of the Blue Ogre King, plus 100% mental strength. The Flame Emperor's Sword, Advanced Fire Aspect, plus 199% strength, plus 162% mental strength, plus 104% defense, plus 106% speed, plus 105% agility. The Wind Tyrant's Dagger Set, Wind Aspect, plus 137% strength, plus 120% agility, plus 118% mental strength. Berserker King's Armor Set, Blood Bonded, plus 144% defense. Salamander King's Cloak, plus 80% mental strength, plus 80% fire magic resistance. Greater Demon's Core, plus 50% all stats. Archdemon's Core, plus 100% all stats. Midnight Dagger. That's as good as it's going to get for now. Abby and I dungeon walk back to meet Maria for a final time, and come to see she's farmed one additional ice element stone. I throw it into my storage to save with the other one, and show her the new ring I crafted in return. After she happily accepts it and tests out the speed buff for a few minutes on a nearby pair of serpents, we all take out our transport crystals and crush them in our palms. The magic brings us back to the lobby of the white-walled building, and Abby leads us to the back elevator right away. Come on, this way. I'll show you where the isolation pods are. Chapter 387. We board the elevator, and it brings us up a dozen floors in what feels like no more than half a second. After a light ding and the door quickly opening, all three of us walk out following Abby's lead into an oval-shaped room with 6 cylindrical metal pods lining the back wall. There's nothing else in the room but these. 5 of them have green lights above them, while the pod all the way to my left side has a blue light above it and a timer counting down. It's currently at 1 hour 51 minutes and 44 seconds. The seconds continue to tick down as I watch, showing that there's just under 2 hours left on it. Abby stops in front of the middle pod, glancing over to the blue-lit pod, then back to us. Looks like Lith is doing a long session. He must have a lot to think about if he's in here for so long. If he's been in isolation since we started farming, he must have been in there over a full day already. I raise an eyebrow at her words, but Maria just nods and agrees, walking over to an isolation pod of her own. Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but an hour will be more than enough for me. Abby shrugs and nods. Yeah, an hour is fine with me. They both press small buttons on the sides of the pods, and the cylinders split in half the long way, opening up and exposing a bright white glowing inside. The intense mana radiation that pours out is overwhelming, giving me an eerily familiar feeling, but I can't quite put my finger on what. Abby walks inside first, pressing a small number pad on the inside of the pod, then giving us a smile as she closes the heavy-looking door. See you all soon. It clicks closed, and all of the mana that was pouring out moments ago disappears from my senses. The green light above the pod turns blue, and a 1-hour timer counts down right below it. Maria looks at me next, typing on the small number pad just as Abby did. Just hop in and relax. Time moves a bit slower inside, so in an hour outside, about 6 or 7 passes in the pod. Soak up all the mana you want to. It's really relaxing. She smiles, and the large metal casing clicks around her too, showing the same blue light, and 1-hour countdown begin. Curiously, I walk over to the next pod down the line and open up the door with a click. It swings open with little to no friction, and I step inside to be surrounded by warm mana tens of times more potent and dense than the mana in the restaurant in the Gold District. As I type in the code to begin a 1-hour session, the metal door clicks shut and my vision turns completely white. Everything around me begins to hum and buzz, and I can't even sense the world around me. I whisper to myself, this really is like I'm in total isolation. The author's content has been appropriated. Report any instances of this story on Amazon. It gives me a really familiar feeling now that I'm inside. The noise from my mouth doesn't bounce off the close walls as it should. It just fades off into the artificial domain that surrounds me. As I take a deep breath in and out, starting to passively plunder MP, I reach into my item storage and pull out the small metal container containing chi pills and the bar of black stone. I'm careful not to touch the stone, and just take a single pill from the casing before snapping it shut again and placing it into my storage. With a gulp, I take the pill and feel a rush of energy restore my chi. After the fight with the ghoul last night, I was drained down to about 40% capacity, losing 60% in minutes. From training all night with Maria and Abby, I only lost another 10% or so of my chi in over 6 hours. Fighting monsters that don't have chi is much easier than ones that drain me and evaporate my power after every hit. I chuckle to myself as the warm sensation fills my body and brings me up to full again. Maybe that's how most monsters feel fighting me. I let out a satisfying breath and close my eyes to let the domain around me fade away. There are tiny particles of chi within this chamber, but their concentration is no greater than it is outside or at any other place in the outside world. I would take this moment to plunder as much MP and gather as much chi as possible right now if it was worth my while, but the minuscule gains I could make in the next few hours compared to the trade-off that an actual good 7 hours of sleep would do me is not worth it. Without thinking any further, I fall asleep standing up in the isolation pod. As I drift off, my body feels weightless, and it's the most relaxing sleep I've gotten in ages. Ding! A light dinging sound wakes me from my slumber, and the metal door I forgot even existed swings open to reveal Abby and Maria both standing out in the open room stretching and looking around with relaxed expressions. I feel equally refreshed, practically overflowing with mana and chi. As I leave the pod and it clicks closed, Maria points to the elevator door. So, seems like it's finally time to go. The wall opens wide as we get close to its motion sensors, and while it closes I look at the numbers on the one pod left in the room still with a clock ticking down. 50 minutes and 9 seconds. As the elevator door shuts, the familiar feeling of inside the pods washes over me again like DJ VU. That's what it reminds me of. I remember being trapped inside the mana-powered time prison that was the Titan's domain. The blessing and curse that helped me bond with Ember, train my mana control up, but also scar me with some of the worst mind-bending, torturous experiences of my life. I reflexively shudder at the thought of going back to that Great Plains dungeon, but as the elevator stops and we approach the teleport platform that leads away from the city, I think of the possible benefits of bringing my teammates there too. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad if we planned everything out in advance. Abby's voice breaks my train of thought. Here, catch. We'll need these to get back here once we're done. I catch the teleport crystal she throws to me, adding it to my handful of others in my storage that I took just in case earlier and nod. I put my ring of concealment on and change my face with my skill, and I watch both Maria and Abby do the same with identical rings of alteration. We all step onto the platform together and end up in the bustling train station down below the mountain right where I started my journey in Sector 1. Not that much time has passed, really only a couple of days at most, but it feels like I was a much different man the last time I stepped off this platform. The three of us step off and make our way through town and up the mountain in a rushed manner. The breeze is cool and the weather gets chilly as we climb the mountain path back up to Valor City. But the sun above occasionally sends warm waves of light that make the constant breeze more refreshing. The crowd outside the first silver wall is fairly long, just like the first time I entered this city, but it moves fast and we each get registered with new wristbands, and I load 5 platinum into my credit account. There's still over 60 platinum profit in my storage from my last time through these outer walls. My teammates load the same amount into their bands, and we all get a few jealous stares from a few passers-by. But the guards don't bat an eye. They get rich folk coming in with much more than this all the time. Once we step through the inner walls, it's a quick walk from here. After passing through the high-end shops and going through checkpoints at the gold and platinum wall, it only takes another few minutes before we finally make it to the Platinum District. The privately owned skyscrapers loom above us as we make our way past the large auction house and approach the Black Stone Monastery. Chapter 388. The 2 orange-robed figures stand in front of the same opening in the pyramid-shaped structure. My initial plan was to walk in myself and notify Monk that I'd be bringing company. But before I even get close enough to the fortress, a third head emerges from the dark hallway and the kind face motions for all of us to come in. He holds up 3 fingers from deep inside the tunnel, then presses one to his lips. I nod, understanding the message, All three of us approach without saying a word. I take the small silver container out of my item storage and into the inner part of my robe before we walk in, guessing the pills inside may be useful later. Two light gasps escape from Maria and Abby's lips as they enter the mouth of the walkway. The absence of mana can be a surprise, and the disappearance of our concealment items is even more of a rush, even though I warned them and briefly described the experience back when we were training last night. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Last time I entered here, I felt that abrupt, drained feeling too, but this time walking in, I can feel the dense chi stores seeping from the stone and floating in the air, already starting to gather into my body as I walk forward. With an already full and nearly overflowing core of chi, the high amounts in the air feel warm and soothing, like I'm walking around with an ultra-lightweight heated feather blanket. Monk leads us into the tunnel, still not saying a single word. He presses his hand against the back wall, and it glows white with chi before all four of us walk through, and it closes with a light click. Monk turns to face me, nods, eyes Maria up and down, nods, then looks at Abby for longer than expected before turning back to me. I was expecting you to bring the ice user along. But who is this? Another soul energy user, I suppose? I quickly respond. Yes, these are some of my teammates. Whoever my enemies may be, they will fight with me. Monk doesn't speak for a few seconds but nods and continues down the spiraling staircase, motioning us to follow. This is good, I will teach them too. We've already been spotted together, so there's no turning back now. If they learn chi control half as fast as you, they will be forces to be reckoned with in a matter of days. I smirk inwardly and follow, hearing sighs of relief come from both Abby and Maria's mouths as they follow close behind me. We walk through the cafeteria, and many younger men in robes greet Monk as we pass, but very quickly we make it to the same training room I practiced in last time I came. Monk stands in the open black-tiled room, while the three of us stand near the table and gear station, listening to what he has to say. First of all, I'd like to congratulate you on your match against the ghoul last night. I watched very closely. It seems you only need to roughly double your base of chi stores to break through its soul energy. He crosses his arms. At the normal rate of a natural cultivator's chi gathering, if you sit down and start now, you'll achieve that in just 50 years. My eyes widen as he starts to laugh. I'm messing with you. I can tell you've leveled up quite a bit even since the last time we met, and your mana control has increased drastically as well. This kind of progression is not normal. I nod as he continues. Although it doesn't directly contribute to your chi base, having a stronger body and more experience controlling powerful energy allows the user to refine and gather their chi faster. I finally reply, looking at Abby and Maria. So that's why I progressed so fast when we first started? Meaning, these two will probably grow at a similar rate. Yes, to a certain extent. Everyone has a natural talent and pace of growth, but if you're already strong, you will grow faster at the start. Making a stronger body and pathways is like you're expanding the potential for your core to store chi. Not only in your physical capacity, but also in your mind. When there's more space for potential stores, the rate of growth tends to heighten as well. I smile, thinking to myself that this MCP absorption perk is paying off in more ways than one. What would take most hunters days, weeks, or possibly months to absorb through potions or stones can be completed with a simple press of a status button using my skill. Also, with rare items that contain lots of MP, if there's any negative backlash on the body or mind, Abby's restore skill can heal anything almost instantly. If you encounter this story on Amazon, note that it's taken without permission from the author. Report it. Monk responds, as if he knows exactly what I'm thinking. You can't just power level in dungeons to raise your chi capacity. You still will need extensive chi sparring training, real battles against monsters like the ghouls to really go all out for the kill, and of course time spent gathering chi can't be rushed. The room is silent. Even though I raised my level to almost 700, pushing my natural body's limits and increasing my capacity to hold mana, it still took me over a decade to master chi to the point at where I am now. That being said, my natural talent was one of the best in my generation. It is clear the three of you have some uniqueness to your natural talents too. I think about his words and inwardly recognize they're correct. I awakened a unique skill, and so did Abby as far as I'm aware. There are many healers in this world, but I've never heard of anyone that can restore full body parts and training fatigue instantly. Maria, too, awakened with a base stat that raises her mana 4 times faster per level up than the average user. Maybe we do have the talent to refine our chi fast like monks, but still, 10 years is far too long to wait. He speaks up. With that being said, you too come here if you'd like to be awakened. We all nod and take off our useless heavy gear and place it on the table, leaving all 3 of us in light casual clothing. With a skip in their steps, both Abby and Maria come to the center of the training room. Monk instructs them to sit on the floor in the lotus position, then motions for me to come closer. Would you like to do the awakening yourself? I raise an eyebrow. Is it safe for me to perform it with no practice? He smiles. Probably safer than if I were to perform it myself, actually. The more the person being awakened trusts the chi user awakening them, the more efficient the process is. If you were paying attention when I awakened you, I only filled up your core to about 40% capacity. That was the maximum I was able to connect with. With training and chi pills, you were able to bring it up to full yourself. I nod, standing next to him, behind both Abby and Maria sitting on the floor. So how do I do it? Remember how you imbued chi into your blade like it was an extension of yourself? I picture the wave of energy that rushed through my body into my blade while fighting the monsters in the arena. Yeah. Well, you'll have to make your friends here an extension of yourself as well. Imbuing them with chi, then releasing the bond and allowing them to retain the energy you gift them. Your control is already far past the ability of many inner high-ranking disciples here. I have no doubt you can manage a successful awakening. It's only up to them to accept it. Maria's voice replies to this immediately. I'll accept it. I trust you, and wouldn't ask for any better person to awaken me. I nod, walking closer as Abby speaks too. Me next. I trust you'll do a fine job. Understood. I place my hand on Maria's back and we synchronize our breathing. I feel the air going in and out of her body, then match this rhythm to the flow of the chi in my core. Slowly, I begin to picture my hand connecting directly to her back, and the warm trickling sensation of chi rolling down my arm flows right through her. It's as if the thin shirt between my hand and her back is not even there. Once the first trickle rolls through, I let a stream trickle in too, then a wave. I can feel and control the energy now flowing into Maria's body. As easily as it flows in, it flows out as well. Waves of chi circulate through her body and back into mine. After a few cycles through, small amounts of the warm energy find a resting point in her core right below her stomach. She doesn't move a muscle, and I continue to fill her body with chi until I hit a limit. It feels similar to my sword, like the natural saturation point is met. It's possible for me to force more in, but I instinctively feel as if there's no reason to do so. It would just overflow and leak out without being used. At this, I slowly take a step back and release my hand away from her body. A wave of exhaustion comes over me as I feel the connection sever, and I lose over 90% of my chi in a single instant. My body feels cold, and I shiver as the shock from breaking the link washes over me. I feel a bit dizzy and lightheaded but catch myself before falling as Maria rises from her sitting position, practically glowing with power. Her eyes are wide, and she can't stop staring at her open palms in front of her face. In the same moment, it feels like the room is closing in on me, and a ringing sound gets louder and louder the longer I wait. Feels like my mouth is dry, but I'm not thirsty. My stomach wants to cave in on itself, but I'm not hungry. I'm in pain all over, but there are no injuries. Wincing, and not wanting to deter from Maria's beautiful awakening moment, I slowly walk over to the table with all our gear and grab a chi pill from the silver container. I grit my teeth and gulp it down to feel a rush of warm energy fill my body again. I take a gasp of fresh air, and the ringing stops while the room expands outward back to its original form in my perception. I grab a second pill from the container and place it in my pants pocket, whispering under my breath. Note to self, never run out of chi. I let out a nervous chuckle and walk back over to see Maria still in awe of the power system she can now see so clearly. It wasn't my first time sensing new power when I awakened Qi. I already had a few eye-opening demonic energy experiences that showed me there's more than mana in this world. I guess if it was my first time seeing something like this, I'd be pretty lost in its glory too. Monk steps closer to me as I get ready to awaken Abby next. I didn't realize you'd managed to let out so much Qi. Her natural capacity must be equal or even higher than yours. I would have warned you if I knew you'd sink so low. I nod and reply, "It's fine. I should have expected it anyway." I place my hand on Abby's back and take a deep breath. Ready. I feel her breath rise up and down. Ready. After synchronizing and allowing my Qi into Abby in the same manner, I connect with her and let my energy flow. Upon our initial link, at the first trickle, I can already tell Abby has a smaller capacity than Maria's, but it's not by much. I'm still able to fill her core to the brim, using up almost 80% of my power. As I release my connection, the same severed link hits me like a wave, but I immediately take the Qi pill in my pocket to not let it take over. I stand up straight as Abby gets to her feet as well, looking down at her hands, then looking at me, Maria, Monk, and the entire room with a dazed expression. I smile at them, then turn to Monk. They're having a bit of a different reaction than me. Yes, the energy wasn't as foreign to them because it came from you. Your instant exposure was a bit more intense. Still, even if it was calmer, they handled it well. We can spar while they get used to the new energy. Chapter 389. Sounds good to me. While Maria and Abby come to their senses, I square up with Monk and we both pick up our sparring session where we left off. With Qi powering every step I take, and hot waves of energy filling every punch. Monk and I go at it and spar harder than we ever have before. Sweat drips down the sides of my forehead, and I even see a droplet or two on Monk's, with his breathing getting heavier too. Loud echoing thuds and cracks vibrate through the room as our bodies and fists collide for a full 30 minutes straight before stopping. You're getting a lot quicker, and your natural Qi control has even risen a bit since the last time we sparred. That fight against the ghoul must have really pushed you to your limits. Facing it, and actually being able to incorporate your magic with your fighting style is the only way you'll truly get much stronger. I nod slowly, understanding that he's basically telling me training and sparring with him has already reached its limit. He's right, I'm subconsciously holding back while sparring. With the match against the ghoul last night, I used every drop of energy to try and go for the kill. On top of that, I had my buffs, sword, and skills to boost my perception and abilities. The effort and power in a life or death battle can't be matched here. I understand. However, these two are still in their beginner stages. They need to be taught the basics as I did when I first came in here. Monk smiles. My specialty. After the half-an-hour session, both Maria and Abby have started to adapt to their new environments. They stopped staring at the walls with eyes filled with awe, and slowly began watching our match, concentrating on reality again. Monk walks them through the basic information they need to know about Qi, using it as a power source, showing them a Qi pill, and detailing the similarities that their Qi has with the borrowed power of the Red Hydra. Hearing Monk's explanation of soul energy again makes me realize he understands exactly how it works down to its core. The old story of his past leader awakening soul energy of his own resurfaces in my mind. The fact that this leader of his was defeated by the Lich King when it decided to take over is a scary thought. Pairing this with the explanation and warning from Ember, my wishes to stay in this city any longer are seriously starting to wane. I zone out in my own thoughts, thinking of a new plan while Monk continues the basics of Qi and starts to make both Maria and Abby throw punches at him just like he did for me. I look up and smile to myself as I've thought of what to do next. At the same moment, both of the newly awakened Qi users throw over half a dozen punches, but get no result yet. However, the determination on their face is just like mine when I started. I speak up to Monk. This will take you all a few hours, right? You'll bring them through all the basic steps. He replies while blocking two fists from both girls flying at him. Yes, at least 4 to 6 hours. Just like you, I will get them ready to fight in the arena tonight for more practice. Good. In that case, I'll be back soon. I have something important to do. Fine by me. I'll have my hands full here. Two waves and goodbyes sound out from the two young fighters too. I walk over to the table at the back of the room and start to put all my gear on. Then, as I turn to leave, I hear an excited yell from Maria. Ha! I felt it. I did it. Then a thud, followed by Monk's voice. Good, now try it again. Allow the chi to flow more instinctually, like a wave of ocean water. I can't help but chuckle a bit, watching both of them struggle to lay a finger on the experienced chi user as he uses a fraction of his power. I move toward the exit, and as I press on the chi-infused door, an excited yell from Abby rings out too. There we go. I got it to flow through my arm and into my fist that time. Another thud and calm explanation from Monk follows as I walk out the door and it clicks shut. Stolen from Royal Road, this story should be reported if encountered on Amazon. I make my way out of the fortress and make sure my disguise is fully present before walking out into the open air. It takes a while, but I walk through every gate in the city before exiting through the silver walls and cashing out my 5 platinum. I walk a ways down the mountain, then activate my stealth skill once I'm out of anyone's sight. Afterward, I crush a transport crystal in my palm and teleport into the Galeheart Tower lobby. I make sure to fully suppress my intimidation skills passive ability this time, and the 2 lobby men that greet me nervously thank me for being considerate as they remember what happened the last time I showed up unannounced. Is Lith available? I have some questions for him. There's a ding and a door opening in the lobby before the lobby men can even respond. Lith walks out in a brand new jet black suit, making his piercing blue eyes pop. He stands out like a magazine cutout against the white walls. What can I help you with today? Have you come to a decision about my offer or just want to chat? I turn from the registration desk to look the powerful businessman in the eyes. A little of both, I suppose. I'd like to speak in private. Very well. Without another word, we board the absurdly fast elevator and make it to the top floor before I can count to 3. Both of us stand next to the desk at the back of the room where we met last night, staring out at the hologram of the now daytime projection of the city below us on the mana-shielded walls. If I don't activate my perception skills, it almost looks like a real glass window. Lith breaks the silence. So, it's not going to be a simple yes, I assume. Tell me your conditions. What do you want? I stare out the fake window a few seconds longer, then reply. First, I'd like a list of the old export volume from each region that Sector 2 used to provide materials to, as well as rough locations for the dungeons that have materials necessary to make the gear and their crafting recipes. He nods with a thin smile as I continue. I want to know where this potential team of craftsmen is coming from, and information on the guards you say you would assign to help revamp the city and keep Sector 2 in line. He nods again. And on top of that, I'd like the power to reject any workers you send my way. If I don't like the entire team of craftsmen and guards, I'd like to send them back and hire my own team. No surveillance of me or my team is allowed in Sector 2, and 100% of profits from the new trade business will be mine. I decide the pricing and I decide who I do business with. If I take full responsibility for this land, I want to reap all the benefits. Your payment will be my team taking out the Dark One once we're strong enough. On that note, we both stare out the fake window for a moment longer without saying a word. Lith replies, "That's quite the bold proposition there. Don't you think you're biting off a bit more than you can chew?" I shrug. I'd say it's a good start to our negotiations. You gave me an offer, I've voiced my own. If you'd like to meet in the middle somewhere, how about you give me the lists of items needed to be sent to each region as a start, and you can think about my offer and give me a counter whenever you'd like. He lets out a sigh while looking out at the view, then turns to walk over to his desk. That sounds reasonable enough. I'll be giving these to you to manage no matter the final agreement we come across, so this is fine. He takes out 5 pieces of paper with long lists on them. They're labeled Sector 4, Sector 3, Sector 1, Vice Region, and Apex Region at the top. He hands them to me, and I give a quick glance at the top paper that's the Sector 4 list. It has hundreds of armor and weapon set requests ranging from 1 silver per unit, up to 5 gold per unit. Magic items from low E grade to high C grade in the magnitudes of 10 to 100 units too, ranging in the same 1 silver to up to 5 gold range here. There's nothing truly special or unique here, but with a total of almost 8,000 units at an average sale price per unit of close to 1 gold. This order is not a cheap one. Lith speaks as I glance at the paper. Exactly. It's a big business. That's the average monthly order from the Sector 4 region. 80 platinum. That's not counting any customs or special orders. We don't have a hold of those contacts or exact items because it was handled directly by the Sector 2 leader. I flip to the next page, seeing the Sector 3 region mostly only buying potions and buffing gear, but their order value is close to that of Sector 4, nearly 5,000 units at an average of 25 silver per unit. Still, that's 10 platinum per month. Next, I flip to the Sector 1 page and see it's only half the size of the Sector 3 list, but my eyes widen at the pricing next to most of the items here. No gear under C grade rating is on this order page, some of it even surpasses B grade rating, and there are item names I've never seen before. The average price per unit is over 10 gold. That adds up to roughly 250 platinum per order. Lith peers over at the paper and nods. This is for Valor City only. High-grade gear is the only acceptable option. Most of the Silver District and Commerce Town below the mountain rely on trade from outside sectors. The Gold District here buys from the Platinum District suppliers, who buy from me. And well, I used to buy from the Sector 2 leader, but there will be some changes. He pauses, pointing to the Vice Region and Apex Region papers that have similar orders as Valor City. The Vice Region is about 30% less, and the Apex Region is 200% more. Only high-grade gear that can't be crafted or farmed anywhere normally. Most of these deals will be unable to maintain. Even a ranked-up legendary craftsman can't do some of the things that old leader could do. However, we'll get close. 100% of Sector 4 and 3, and maybe 20% of the other region's deals can be saved. We'll have to start somewhere and build up from there. I nod, accepting the papers and placing them under my cloak and into my item storage. Good. This is all I need for now. I'd like to study these numbers before I hear your counteroffer if that's all right. Fine by me. I assume you'll be heading out to the arena tonight and farming afterward. Correct. Yes, Maria and Abby too. Well, excellent. I'll come up with a few options for you by tomorrow morning then. We both nod and shake hands. He shows me to the elevator, and I press a small white button near the entrance that says, Dungeon Access. With a wide grin across my face, I use the teleportation platform to make my way into the cave system below the city and jump into the Red Ogre dungeon. Seconds later, I dungeon walk to a random D-class dungeon in the Vice City Dungeon Hub and walk out with a full new concealed facial disguise. The light breeze and fresh air of the city combined with the bustling crowd of chatter of hopeful hunters is nostalgic. I walk straight through it all on a mission, approaching the rougher part of town to find the black market. I'm on my way to see an old friend. Chapter 390. The clean and shiny inner city is left behind as I walk into the much more dangerous and less regulated side of town. Wearing my ring of concealment from Sector 1, the high-quality black suit makes it look like I'm not from around these parts. However, as long as no one sees who I really am, I don't care if I stick out like a sore thumb. The faint smell of garbage and the suspicious wandering eyes from everyone I pass aren't a sight I missed very much. But it feels nice to know I'm really back roaming the streets of the capital. Less and less people line the roads, and the houses and shops become more dilapidated until the familiar 3-story brick building comes into my view. With my advanced perception, I can see the 2 large bodyguards that stand outside the front entrance, and over a dozen workers inside are sensed by my enemy detection skill. I slip into an alley without anyone nearby and activate my legendary stealth skill. It completely conceals my presence to anyone near me below my mana control base. The veil of energy around me acts as a skill-imbued blanket and even fully suppresses my intimidation's passive outgoing energy. So, it's safe to say I'm completely invisible. Stepping out from the shadows, I walk up to the guards and neither of them see or sense me from even 10 meters away. If I just revealed who I was, they'd surely remember me, and I'm positive Bree, the legendary craftswoman, would gladly take me as a guest. However, I'm supposed to be dead. As far as the association knows, and many people that follow the paper, every single one of my teammates was killed on a mission out of the continent. This is far from the truth, and I don't plan on revealing this to anyone. On top of that, I'd like to give my new potential business partner a loyalty test. With all this on my mind, I wait by a nearby building, keeping an eye on the two guards and the door behind them. They chat between themselves, and not much happens until the top of the hour when a short man in a gray suit walks up to them with a confident stride. He shows them a piece of paper, and one of the guards nods while the other opens the door of the building. At this, I jump forward and make my move. With less than 5 seconds to act, I maneuver my way through the guards and into the building undetected while the businessman walks through the bottom floor over to a thin metal spiral staircase at the back of the room. As he goes up, the door behind me clicks shut. I'm left with my stealth skill activated in a room full of workers sifting and sorting through random E and D class items. There are rows of tables and about 16 workers here, all going about their daily tasks, placing groupings of items into boxes, taping them up, and writing shipping details and names on the front sides. Unauthorized use. This story is on Amazon without permission from the author. Report any sightings. I watch a short brown-haired woman pack a 12-pack of temporary strength enhancement potions with a 3-minute 25% buff on them into what looks on the outside to be a children's toy box. In a matter of seconds, with a vacuum seal and an extra layer of lightly mana-imbued tape around the outside, my appraisal skill senses start to pick up its reading fainter and fainter. By the time an extra box and packing peanuts are put around the mana-imbued tape, it's nearly invisible. With my high level of mana control and special grade appraisal skill, I'm still able to see through it faintly, but I wouldn't be surprised if anyone below a ranked-up level couldn't see through it. It's a smart way to transport and ship valuable materials far distances without the worry of them being detected and stolen. I smirk inwardly while continuing to look around the room. Some workers have basic non-combat related skills like inspect, imbue, small mental strength buffs, and even a few with a basic no-grade craftsmanship skill. Others are just weaker hunters, with common skills like swordsmanship or body hardening. No one in this room is above level 200. Getting stronger and risking their lives in dungeons is not part of their daily lives. Some look like thugs and runaways, while others just look like simple family men and women that are bringing home money to raise their kids. These are all workers for Bree. Nothing more, nothing less. I nod to myself while walking around the room for another minute or two, observing the work being done a bit longer. Then I make my way up the stairs. Even the sounds of my steps are drowned out by my stealth skill as I make it to the second floor and see the tall, thin man in a suit and glasses reading a dark purple hardcover book at his desk at the back of the room. Bookcases line the walls behind him, and every book on the shelves look as if they've been thoroughly read many times over. His right leg is crossed over the other, and his chair is pushed back in a much more casual position than I remember him looking. The two twin girls on the far right wall of the room sort and test higher grade magical items along with books and some potions. Some of the gear here reaches high grade D or low grade C gear at most. I wait patiently, then hear a familiar voice echo through the staircase above me. Pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Garcia. Your new updated subscription will be processed today. I'm glad you decided to increase the volume. You're always welcome back. A high-pitched and slightly nervous voice replies. Of course, Ms. Brianna, the pleasure is mine. I'll be sure to come by again for any future changes. Footsteps begin to come down the stairway, and the man passes right by me. Bernard looks up from his book with one raised eyebrow, but goes back to reading once the man starts walking down to the first floor. On this cue, I walk up the stairs myself and enter the very dimly lit room on the top floor. Walking back to her desk, I see the tight black clothing and curvy figure of the olive-skinned businesswoman who was my first reality check to the harsh world of hunters. She crafted my Flame Emperor's sword and gave me a much-needed boost in gear, money, and underworld reputation back in the day. Along with that, she was the only one to warn me about joining the association. Maybe that was just a personal grudge or a one-time thing. Time has passed and people change. I'd like to get some first-hand insight into her current style of business before asking for her help. Revealing myself in front of her now could elicit a shock-driven or overly emotional response. I want to know her baseline morals and how she treats all clients, not just me. The plan I have may be a bit harsh, but I'm sure she can handle it. The moment Bree turns around and sits back at her desk, she completely turns off her light magic skill, and the room returns to total darkness. To my surprise, she speaks in a calm and calculated tone. "Whoever you are, show yourself and tell me what intentions you have spying on my operation." I thought we came to a clear agreement that the association's hands do not belong in my business. Chapter 391. I think quickly, reacting to her words, and decide to go along with what she thinks this intruder may be. If she thinks I'm from the association without me having to lead her to believe it, that's even better. Stepping forward, I activate my hush skill and let it expand just large enough to encompass both of us. The light sounds of magic items clicking together, boxes being taped, and people moving around vanish from our audible senses. I deactivate my stealth skill and activate my mana manipulation skill to summon 2 humming pink daggers in my hands. The ring of concealment along with my skill makes me look as if I'm just some random man with 2 high-level assassination skills. A noise-canceling perk, along with some ability to conjure knives that don't leave a trace. The pink glow from my hands lights up the room just slightly, and in the same moment, I see the tips of Bree's fingers flicker with white light as well. I speak up. "Well, there's been a change of plans." She stares straight ahead, standing up from her desk without a drop of fear. "That's not how things work. We had an ongoing agreement. No messing with me or my business. It's part of Rodrigo's soul pact." I step closer but stop in place at her last line. Rodrigo is her brother, the A-class hunter that was the head examiner of my C-class advancement event. To date, that's the strongest hunter I've ever seen in my life. Hearing his name brought up here is a bit confusing. "He doesn't matter. This is about you." I continue to step forward, letting the pink blades in my hand glow brighter and brighter before continuing to speak. "Would you like to make a deal? Hand over the names of just one of your high-paying clients. We'll need a time and date to seize illegal products on their premises, along with their past order numbers. A lot of people in Vice City have been getting far too comfortable in the shadows away from the law." Bree's hands glow even brighter white, now illuminating the full backside of the room. "You're not allowed to ask a favor like that of me. No one below a regional director rank should even be standing in this facility. We had a zero-tolerance interference policy. The only way you could be showing up here now is if Rodrigo either betrayed you, or he's dead dash." Her eyes widen for a fraction of a second as I jump forward and put both blades right up to her neck, reflecting a pink glow off her body. Even in her moment of hesitation, I'm impressed with her reaction time as she counters by moving her left hand hot with light magic toward my waist, and her other hand grabs a knife from her desk. However, I have the high ground and the closer hand to the kill shot. I reply, "You give up one client and you keep your life. A simple exchange. We'll even make it look like an accident and compensate you for long-term business losses. The narrative has been taken without permission. Report any sightings." Her eyes remain fierce, and she grits her teeth. "Piss off. I'd never give up a single client unless they themselves backstabbed me first. On top of that, I'd never help the association after what you did to my family." I bring my blades even closer, just millimeters away from her neck. "Is this really how you want to go? All I ask for is a simple name. If you're doing this because you're worried about your brother, I have nothing to do with him. Our meeting here is only about you." I let my blades pulse pink, and all I get in response is her resolute stare. She continues to charge up her left hand with more and more light magic, bringing the room we stand in to fully lit. "So you're from one of the special units?" Her expression changes to anger. "He can take care of himself. This is more personal." I nod, keeping a straight face, but smiling inwardly. Last chance. My answer is no. I'll never go back on my word. Kill me if you can. I feel a warm sensation hit my stomach. It's a light magic attack that's easily deflected by my many layers of dense mana shielding. I don't budge, and based on Bree's reaction, she expected this. Her blade in her right hand immediately becomes covered in a layer of mana shielding and swings up and across her body to bash the 2 pink daggers in my hand away. On contact, I deactivate my manipulation skill and let the blades shatter into a glimmering pink glow while air-stepping backward and putting my hands up in the air. I can tell she's surprised it was so easy. It was clear in her mind that I was a much stronger opponent since the second I walked into the room. Good. You passed. As Bree runs at me glowing with light magic all over, and pulling even more items out of a small item box, I take off my ring and deactivate my concealment skill to reveal my regular form. She stops mid-stride with a look filled with shock, and before taking another step, a wave of understanding washes over her. JJ, you're alive. Her blinding lights dim, and she takes the weapons aimed at my vital points down, releasing her tight grip. I reply, taking out the sword and dagger she crafted for me from my item storage for a moment, then put both the weapons away once she confirms they're really the ones she made. Yes, it's really me. Sorry to alarm you. I just wanted to get a genuine reaction before I decided to fill you in on what happened to me. The green mist of the lie detector skill still radiates off of Bree, telling me every word she said was the truth. She'd rather die than give up her clients to the association. She lets out a long sigh and walks back over to her desk and sits down. Never a dull moment when you're around, is it? You could have just knocked. I have truth detector items and bonding agreements if you were really that in need of a definite answer. I shrug. Well, how was I supposed to know that? At least I heard what I wanted to hear my way. What do you say we get down to business? I walk over to one of the cushioned seats in front of her desk and take a seat. She replies, "Give me a moment." She takes a deep breath in and out before organizing things on her desk and looking straight up at me. You may have known that was just a test, but for me I was sure a ranked-up assassin from the association's Black Ops unit just came in to kill me. She breathes in and out one more time, wiping all worry from her face entirely. I'm impressed how unfazed she is by all of this, or how good she is at hiding it. Anyway, I take it with an introduction like that after coming back from the dead. You didn't just come over to say hi. We chuckle at her statement, and simultaneously, I take out the 5 pieces of paper from my item storage with regional order details on them. It's a bit of an urgent request, actually, and a very big one at that. My hush skill is still blocking out everything not on this floor, and the only noise hitting my ears is Bree's accelerated heartbeat and fast breathing the moment her eyes meet the details written on the page before her. Over a minute goes by as she flips through each of the pages and examines each item order very closely. Finally, after an awkwardly long pause, she speaks. How did you possibly get a hold of these lists? Does this mean what I think it does about the rumors going around about the Sector 2 leader being missing? I slowly nod. She looks at me straight in the eyes, then back down to the papers. Impossible, but I guess it's not. There's another long silent pause before she speaks again. So, what exactly are you asking of me? Chapter 392. Well, let's say I provided all the raw material necessary to make these items. Could you and your team get it done? She looks down at the papers again, flipping through and making notes on a paper beside them all. The volume is way too high for me to do alone. I have a few craftsmen under me, but none of them are high enough grade or level to handle a majority of these orders. Bree continues flipping through the papers, so I reply, what if I power-leveled your craftsmen in a dungeon and gave them upgrade crystals to bring them all to legendary grade? Bree looks up at me. If you can get your hands on enough of those for all 6 of my craftsmen downstairs, that would work. She looks at the papers very thoroughly, making more and more notes on a separate sheet, then hands it to me. We could fulfill these orders. Everything from Sector 3 and 4 would be manageable. All of the Sector 1 and Vice Region standard items are doable, but the above 120% buff enchants are not capable at my level no matter the crafting materials. The upgrade and teleport crystals aren't possible for me to do either. I assume all of those used to be sourced from Sector 2. Unless excessive mana crystals are provided and large amounts of specific blood to bond certain skills or abilities to items, a lot of these higher grade enchants are not easily replicable. She pauses, thinking to herself for a moment before carrying on. Anything over a double element stone bonds won't be possible for me either. And yeah, Not a single one of the Apex region's order items can be done by team to fulfill either. Even if we were all legendary grade, each one of these items are priceless treasures. I had no idea that region was buying items like this, but it makes sense. That region has 4 A-class hunters and tons of B-class hunters too, recruited from the yearly exams. They probably run through gear like this in training all the time. I'm sure they'd want to stock up a lot right now, considering another wave of new recruits will be coming in soon. I nod slowly, looking at the paper. Still, this is enough to move over 100 platinum worth of product per month. I reach into my item storage and pull out a single platinum bar, along with one of the speed fragments, ice scales, and a few swords from the Red Ogre dungeon I farmed last night. Placing the rare items that most likely have never seen the light of day outside Valor City, I speak up. So, will you take these as an apology for the scare earlier? I just wanted to be positive I could trust you with my plan to take over the Sector 2 trade route. Bree's eyes scan the gear on the counter, and she even touches some, activating her craftsmanship skill to analyze the rarity and stats on the items before her. Stolen from Royal Road, this story should be reported if encountered on Amazon. Apology accepted. She smiles. Although there's no need. We'll just call it payback for the first time you showed up here asking for your sword and I almost got you killed by forcing you in that fight ring. I sigh and roll my eyes while she lets out a chuckle. Sure, we'll call it even. Anyway, these materials are at a higher grade than pretty much anything I usually craft. I'd be hitting my upper limits using them. Any higher quality and the end crafting result would all be the same. Her eyes track over to the small bar of platinum beside all the materials. So, this is the kind of money you're working with now, isn't it? I'd like to know what happened to you, and what exactly I'm getting involved in before I fully agree. Start from the beginning. Who did you get these lists from? What is your true goal with this business deal? And most importantly, how did you die? Who knows you're alive? And how long is it going to stay that way? I lean in and start to explain. With the hush barrier raised and still on full power, for the next hour, Bree and I talk business. First, I start with the power imbalance that occurred after the Sector 2 leader was defeated, and my meeting with the powerful Sector 1 businessman, Lith Galehart. Bree surprisingly reacts in a calm manner. Yeah, I've heard of him. Never formally met, but I've seen him show up to a few auctions. Next, we discuss logistics. I don't know what the situation in Sector 2 is yet, so building this larger-scale operation might be better off done right here in Vice City. I smile to myself once finishing my proposal. That's right. Everyone that does business with me will assume everything is produced in Sector 2. But in reality, it will be a front. All valuables and production will be kept here. With your zero-contact agreement already in place with the association, it's like my enemies are protecting their own worst nightmare. Bree gets a kick out of this idea but won't go into full detail about the exact conditions of her brother's contract. However, by the end of our conversation a few details become a bit more clear. I explain the situation in the Dark Continent, when my team's mission all started. It was all going fine until the total freakout happened with a few organizations once they learned we ran into demonic energy. Her eyes widen at this portion of the story and I remember Rodrigo having multiple demons cores, and even an archdemon's core, so he's definitely cleared a labyrinth over 20 levels in his past. So they know you have a core too? That's exactly why they forced my brother into a life-binding contract at such a young age. Well, they did. Until Lith faked our capture and deaths. Every single one of us. I've been hiding very carefully since then. Other than 2 rogue assassins a while back, no one else has come looking for me. The cover-up seems to have worked pretty well. Bree replies, over here outside those walls, there's a whole different story going around. 2 years of elite squads killed in a dungeon break to save millions of lives. What a headline. She pulls out a new paper from a few weeks ago, and we both have a good laugh reading it. Another hour passes, and we consolidate potential plans for expanding her building of operations here, but put it on hold until I get confirmation back from all the buyers involved along with the dungeons to get all of the crafting materials needed for this job. Sounds like we've come to quite the agreement here. I look forward to making a lot of money together. I stand up to shake Bree's hand. Pleasure talking over our future business too. Come back once you have all the plans for moving forward. Next time, just knock. I smile and release her grip. Got it. I deactivate my hush skill, throw my ring of concealment on, reactivate stealth, and disappear before her eyes. I walk down the steps right out the front door. While walking down the street away from the brick building, the two guards out front scramble to close the door that just mysteriously opened on its own. One argues that it was the wind, while the other looks around with a serious expression trying to find an intruder. About 15 seconds later, they forget about it once they can't come to a conclusion and go back to their usual business standing guard as I turn a corner and make my way back to the dungeon hub. Chapter 393. When I make it back to the dungeon hub in full stealth mode, I look at all the available dungeon entrances for a moment, and my eye catches the B-class gate. I never really thought twice about it when I was spending most of my time around this place. My level and power were never high enough to even think of going into dungeons like this. I use my perception and scanning skills to find that the two guards standing in front of the gate are level 556 and 509. The higher level guard is ranked up with an advanced earth magic skill, while the other is stacked with two special grade party buffing skills. One for strength and the other for speed. They're wearing very high-grade gear and looking straight ahead as no one comes near their gate. I was gonna hop back into an E-class dungeon with stealth activated, but now I'm curious. Bree mentioned something about the Apex region recruiting B-class hunters soon, so out of curiosity, I walk over and completely change my status to an E-class businessman to match my concealment ring suit and alter my face to look much older. With a professional smile, I come out from the shadows and walk over with a hand raised. Good afternoon, gentlemen. I have a question for you if you don't mind me asking. The higher-level tan-skinned earth magic user turns my way with jaded eyes and a coarse-toned reply. What can I help you with, sir? I come to a halt, scanning him up and down to see Damien S. B-class hunter on two small silver pins on his association uniform's collar. Oh, I was just wondering what the date and location of the B-class exams were. I know they're coming up and may have a client or two eligible to try out. His expression doesn't change, but the guard nods and replies in the same tone. They're a month and a half away. Anyone above level 500 can enter if they wish, but the exact location and time is not available to the public. You'll have to check in with an association office with your clients present to sign them up. I nod and begin to turn away. Very good. That's all I wanted to know. Sir, could I ask to see an ID or your status? It's not every day we get questions like that. I shrug and show them my doctored status, showing LV79 and a no-grade appraisal skill before walking off. Although appraisal skills are fairly rare, many top businessmen have them. Snagging some for the association would always be helpful, but they're really better off working on their own. A lower-level hunter would have tried to recruit me to get some good faith, but this man just nods and doesn't even wave me off as I leave. He faces straight ahead as I disappear into the crowds of hunters. Once completely out of sight, I activate stealth once again and slip into a dungeon before teleporting back into the labyrinth to continue farming with my time remaining. Monk said it'd take 3 to 4 hours, and I still have a bit of time, so I dungeon walk around the red-tinted dungeon full of speedsters for the remaining hour and a half I have left, bringing my level up to 629, gaining 1 extra PP, a few million MCP, and collecting 5 more Crimson Speed fragments to add to my item storage. Stolen from Royal Road, this story should be reported if encountered on Amazon. I attempt to practice my chi control further, but it's not even worth trying. Every time I make an impact, I desolate my opponent. Not bad, but I'm ready for a real challenge. Crushing the transport crystal in my hand, I'm brought back to the Galeheart Tower and go through the process of exiting the walls and re-entering under a new wristband ID. This time, adding 14 platinum to my balance, keeping a clean 50 bars in my storage. As I walk through the walls to make it back to Monk's base, I think about how much easier all this traveling would be if I learned how to craft and set points for transport crystals myself. I begin outlining where I'd place points around each sector and region for quick teleportation without the use of dungeons. But these thoughts start to fade once I enter the monastery again. There's more important information to know right now. I speak up while pressing the wall open back into the training room to hear loud cracks of chi on chi echoing throughout the room. How's the progress coming along? Are they proper Chi fighters yet? With a grin on my face and the door shutting behind me, I watch both Abby and Maria fight Monk with Chi-infused steps and white-hot fists colliding over and over at lightning-fast speeds. Monk turns to me while blocking one of Maria's punches with his forearm just centimeters from his face. Oh, they learned real quick. All three of you were born to be monsters. He laughs while blocking a kick from Abby at the same moment. Then, everyone steps back, stops, and Monk bows. Maria starts to laugh, and Abby crosses her arms as I walk over, showing an impressed look on my face. They're both covered in sweat, and Maria is the first to speak. Spar with us next. I want to see how we stack up against you. Sure, why not? A little warm-up before we head to the arena again would be nice. Don't hold back. Both of them reply. We won't. I take off my gear, and Monk stands back as I get into a fighting stance. Maria and Abby face me, forming a triangle, and forcing me to pay close attention right from the start. It looked like they were very skilled opponents when fighting Monk, but I don't want to use my full strength just in case. I'll limit myself and only block until I can gauge their actual skill level. Monk's voice starts the match. Begin. Both of them immediately lunge forward with fists full of Chi at an incredible speed. My eyes widen as I have to use my full-power Chi-infused step to spin and dodge, knocking their wrists to the side with a reinforced forearm of Chi only after I manage to slip through. Simultaneously, two kicks come from both sides of my back after blocking their punches, and I have to spin again, thinking fast and letting a wave of Chi flow through my torso to block the kicks as they collide with my body. All three of us are thrown back at this collision, and I put my fists up above my face to hide my grin. So, it seems I really can use a good bit of strength. You learned much faster than I thought. We jump back in, and I start throwing real punches to gauge their actual strength. Maria's waves of Chi seem to be pulling from a bottomless base of energy, powering her footsteps and the strength of her punches much faster and harder than Abby's. However, Abby's agility and precision make up for it. They learned how to focus their Chi together, so it seems they developed an interesting battle style to deal with Monk or any high-power enemies like him. They used the same techniques on me. Maria is the powerhouse, bringing all attention to her while Abby guides the attacks, and lands her own in between while I make sure to dodge Maria's. I do still have the upper hand from pure battle experience, as well as being more comfortable with using Chi for more than just a 4-hour session. However, we have a great spar, and I can tell they're both going to be more than capable of defeating at least up to the 6th stage of opponents in the battle arena. We're all going to have to use the Red Hydra's buff on the 7th, but that's why we're here to practice. After some more basic tips from Monk, we all head to the individual shower rooms and eat together in the cafeteria hall. Once we're done and consume a brand new Chi pill, we all stand up with satisfaction and head over to check in for the arena. Abby's voice echoes through the narrow stairway up to the surface as we start to leave. I'm excited to try this out on some real monsters, especially that 7th stage ghoul. Maria replies as Monk presses open the door to the outside world as we leave the monastery. Me too. I wonder what kind of monster comes after it. Has anyone ever faced the 8th stage? Chapter 394. The 8th stage. Monk looks back at Maria as he leads us out. I'm not sure. I've never seen anyone face it. It's probably better that way. Each of us nods and doesn't reply after that note. We follow Monk, walking out of the fortress and regaining our mana sense. Our rings of concealment and alteration activate the moment we step out from the dark tunnel. Abby and Maria's faces light up as they take their first breaths of both mana and Chi-infused air. Feels nice, doesn't it? Sure does. The walk back to the arena goes pretty quickly, although my mind is still racing through possibilities of how to set up a business with Bree, and the potential offer Lith will give me tomorrow morning. Once the sounds of the yelling crowds hit my ears, my brain switches gears. I will have to save up a lot of money for startup costs if I want to do all of this on my own. Farming every single material for crafts may not always be feasible. I'll have to pay a team to farm for me. It may not seem optimized on a small scale when I can do everything myself, but I have to think bigger. So, the mission right now is to make as much money as possible before my fight, and practice my chi to its upper limits during my actual time in the ring. Maria and I put on our black and white masks, while Abby just stays content with her ring of alteration. Masks are too stuffy. I don't need an extra layer of disguise just to look cool. Monk gets a chuckle out of her line. The four of us walk through the crowds of people in the lobby and make our way behind the registration and down the steps to the training rooms. The announcer's voice is echoing through the stadium as usual, hyping up some of the last remaining midday fights, while the sky above begins to shift from the golden yellow sunset to a black sky with twinkling stars. Mr. Wright greets us as we make our way down, and his eyes practically light up with joy when he sees yet another fighter appear from nowhere next to the three others that broke record-high numbers in the fight arena last night. Do we have another future legacy fighter on our hands? I nod, grinning under my mask and replying, yeah, it'd be best to put all of us into the later rounds. You're in for another great showing tonight, I believe. We mark our names, and Abby gets registered last minute without even having to throw her punch on the block upstairs. If you're attending with this group, I assume you're more than strong enough to handle yourself, Ms. Emerald Warrior. Abby smiles and turns away, and Maria does too. Monk and I follow close behind. We walk over to where the usual legacy fighters are standing by the teleport platform. He speaks up with his arms crossed. I'm curious to see how they perform in the ring today. They seem to be of a similar strength to you when you first awakened. Let's see how they deal with real enemies in front of them. I cross my arms as well, replying as we come to a halt to look up at the holographic display of the final midday fight taking place. That's right, we will see. As the final match ends, and even more people pile in above us in the arena, Max, Sia, and Ace walk over to greet us. The author's content has been appropriated. Report any instances of this story on Amazon. Max, the Shield, looks at all of us together and just smiles and shakes his head. More and more of you keep appearing. It's time I stop questioning it and just enjoy the extra eyes you new elite arena fighters bring to the show. No one other than Monk has ever even made a scratch on that 7th stage until recently. He laughs, and Sia interjects. Hey, we're not complaining. More eyes just mean a bigger prize. Ace flips a gold coin up in the air with his thumb and catches it. Yeah. Keep the bidders coming. Let's put on another good show. He smirks, and with perfect timing the announcer upstairs begins to yell again. Sia turns to the teleport platform and waves us goodbye. That's my cue. The nighttime fights begin right after the midday without much intermission at all. And from the overview shots of the crowd, it looks like equal if not even more people are at the event tonight than yesterday's show. I immediately bring my wristband up to my eyes and watch the betting odds tick up and down as the matches begin. All the legacy fighters matches along with a few familiar newbie faces, and I bet nearly my full balance on every fight. Though, I play it very safe, never betting over stage 5 for any of the matches other than Ace. I take the chance on his stage 6 match and he wins in a flash of blue light. I turn my 14 platinum balance into just over 32. Monk goes next, and his matches go just as usual. I turn my 32 platinum into 49 betting all in on wins from match 1 to 7. Maria is up next. Monk gives her some last-minute tips, and I describe how I was able to channel chi into my blood-bonded sword when I concentrated hard enough. She smiles beneath her white mask and gives a firm nod before turning to enter the teleport circle and entering the arena. With her sword on her waist, the first stage begins. A low-level hobgoblin comes running at Maria, and she stands her ground using just her fists to counter. On impact with the monster, the wave of hot chi disintegrates it in seconds, but Maria activates her ice magic the moment after to create an exciting performance for the crowd. Everyone goes wild in the stands, and the next few rounds go just the same. She gets used to using her chi to kill opponents for the next 4 rounds until it's possible for the monsters to actually withstand a hit if it's not in a vital area. Upon this realization, Maria takes out her sword to practice with one of the mutant berserker giants that's placed up against her in the 5th stage. It's the same opponent I had when I first started learning. The clangs of metal on metal ring through the arena. Maria hardly uses any mana shielding and focuses on her bonded sword after every attack to attempt to channel chi into it. I can tell the first few attempts don't go as planned, But once it clicks, I watch her sword slice through the berserker's weapon like butter, and basically melt the monster in half before our eyes. She excitedly jumps in the air in the ring, celebrating the fact that she figured it out. The sixth round goes in a much similar fashion. A red ogre king is brought out. A monster Maria is very used to fighting. Once the match starts, it takes less than 5 seconds for her to replicate the sword motion from the previous match and channel chi into her blade. Surprisingly, it takes a few hits for her, unlike the precision of the blade swings I was able to achieve with my swordsmanship skill. However, it doesn't seem to matter. In 3 clean swings of her sword, the monster's arms are sliced clean off and its head topples to the floor. All of her movements are masked with an extreme wave of ice magic. The floor is covered in glimmering light blue crystals, and the pieces of fallen monster are frozen solid as well. The crowd goes nuts again, and the announcer yells with excitement while Maria raises a thumb in the air to move to the next round. That's what we like to see. The Ice Empress is moving on to the 7th stage. She'll be facing the one and only mutant ghoul. A level 691 at that. There are some oohs and ahs, but most of the crowd remembers her 2-second performance from last night, so they bet as if they already know how the match is going to end. I do the same, putting all 66 of my platinum on her with a 1.23x payout on the 7th stage. The moment it starts, the stadium goes silent in anticipation. It's fairly hard to pick up what really happened on the big screen without examining it closely with my perception skills. But Maria went head-on against the white-skinned, orange-tinted beast without her buff activated. However, the instant it touches the creature's orange aura, the red Hydra's buff activates, and she blips away from the monster in the middle of the ring. Her eyes look very focused, and she deactivates her buff the second she's out of range of the ghoul. She activates her ice magic on full blast to attempt freezing the monster in place next. Its orange aura melts through the prison of ice in an instant, but while distracted she still slips through to force another attack. The same exact reaction occurs. Maria plunges through the orange aura but activates her red Hydra's buff before sinking in too deep. She jumps back and deactivates her buff again, filling the arena with ice and reassessing her options. It seems as though the same thing is happening to her chi, like it did mine. Every time she makes contact with its borrowed soul energy, the chi is being destroyed. She'll need to learn to focus her chi control much further if she even wants to make a dent in that monster's orange energy. Even if she does, it'd be a miracle if she actually broke all the way through it without help from the red Hydra. Without a higher overall capacity, it may just be impossible to beat this monster naturally. I let out a thin smile beneath my mask and looked to my side, speaking up in a low tone only loud enough for Abby to hear. Looks like she's really pushing her limits on this one. We should do the same. Chapter 395. The pillars of ice summoned from Maria's feet and sword nearly fill the entire arena's dome. However, the unyielding orange aura and ferocious speed of the ghoul tear down her mana and chi-imbued attacks one by one without slowing down in the slightest. Over 10 more clashes go by, making bigger and more extreme explosions of blue ice crystals each time. Every clash they have ends with Maria sinking slightly deeper into the ghoul's aura, but activating her red Hydra's buff moments before disaster. I can tell she's growing at a rapid rate, channeling more chi into her blade, and making it denser and denser every time. She's learning her upper chi imbuing limits just like I did in my fight yesterday. However, this doesn't last forever. Every attack into that orange aura evaporates a large amount of chi, and it's clear she's starting to run low when on her next attack. A red aura envelopes her entire body before her blade even makes contact with the ghoul. In a glimmering display of pink-tinted ice, the monster is defeated, and the crowd erupts into cheers that even shake the ceiling above us. What the audience thought was going to be a one-attack match turned into an epic duel. I smile as she walks around the ring in a victory lap, destroying the leftover ice in the ring and politely declining the announcer's offer to move on to the next stage. Over 81 platinum rest in my balance as she's teleported back into the training room and Abby steps up to the platform. Good luck out there. Put on a show and take your time in the earlier rounds. There's no rush. She continues forward and the 2 female fighters exchange words as they pass too. Flashy match out there. Good job. Thanks. I think you'll enjoy fighting that 7th stage too. A few people overhear their back and forth, and already begin whispering and readying their bets on an unknown fighter closely associated with the woman who just put on the performance of the night. Abby teleports away, and Maria stands next to me, letting out quite the long sigh. I dropped down to nearly 20% in my stores. That was exhausting, but very eye-opening. I cross my arms and look up at the screen displaying Abby readying a fist-fighting stance with her 2 bonded daggers on her waist. Yeah, it's not going to be easy figuring this out. I have a few ideas, but we're going to need a lot of time and practice. We place our bets and the matches begin. Rounds 1 to 5 go just the same as Maria's. I turn 81 platinum into 89, going all in every time. At this point in the tournament, everyone knows that a new participant named the Emerald Warrior won't lose early this late into the night. The crowd still enjoys her presence, and in return, Abby puts on quite the show. Using her stone magic to hop around the ring while glowing bright green, she punches her opponents into bits with chi-infused fists. Blasts of rock and green energy fly around in all directions to mask her blows, making it seem as if the monsters she's defeating are turned to stone the moment they're hit and crumble to pieces. On the 6th stage, she's matched up against one of the extremely quick lizard creatures that carries a spear. Using her earth magic, she materializes a floating spear of her own to block the monster's fast-paced constant attacks. Meanwhile, the green-haired hunter focuses very hard on infusing chi into her daggers. The understanding of chi imbuement doesn't happen instantly, and she faces off against the lizard man for much longer than needed. Over 30 seconds of back and forths go on before the first wave of chi finally enters one of her daggers and she lands a body shot on the lizard. It doesn't instantly get blown away like the other opponents, but a large chunk of flesh on its side is missing. Abby grins, and a zoom in on the holographic fight display shows this very clearly. The mood in the arena shifts, and everyone knows she's going to go in for the kill. A series of chi-infused slashes later, and every new hit is getting more and more powerful as the stone mage becomes more comfortable infusing this new power into her bonded weapons. By the final attack, it only takes a single clean blow to slice the lizard creature's head clean off and end the 6th stage with a roaring applause. A full 96 platinum are credited back into my account and Abby takes a victory lap while giving the okay to move on to the 7th round. Based on her performance in the 6th, the odds on the 7th begin leaning against her because the victory wasn't as swift and clean as Maria's, opening up a 1.52x bet that I take full advantage of and go all in. The grin on my face beneath my mask gets wider and wider as the same results as Maria's match unfold before me. Abby continuously shapes and molds the arena floor with walls of rock to limit the ghoul's speed, while getting in close enough to attempt some chi-infused slashes. Her attacks are instantly absorbed by the dangerous orange aura, and the red Hydra's buff is activated just in time for the healer to jump away. Unauthorized use of content. If you find this story on Amazon, report the violation. The stone being manipulated beneath Abby's feet is tinted crimson while her buff is activated, and the sharp glimmer in her eyes every time she jumps back in at the monster before her makes the crowd roar with excitement. As her chi gets sucked away more and more, her reliance on the red Hydra's buff increases. However, unlike Maria and I, Abby is able to use her buff almost indefinitely as long as she continues to heal her fatigue after it deactivates with Restore. This allows her to be more conservative and precise with her chi placement, and use her Hydra's buff to dodge instead of striking when the angles aren't ideal. Her match lasts almost twice as long as Maria's but ends all the same, with a flash of dark red aura eating through every drop of the possessed ghoul, and leaving it in pieces on the floor, while she circles the ring and uses earth magic to bring the rocky arena floor back down to a flat ring like it was before. She's teleported back into the training room as just over 146 platinum are credited into my account. Mixed cheers and boos come from the audience, but they're almost immediately drowned out when the announcer says a familiar name. Now, I know there's been some entertaining fights this evening, but we've saved the best for last. I assure you this will be a night you won't forget. Please welcome the Flame Emperor. The rumbling noise of the crowd above and overview shots of the arena confirm that there are definitely more people at this showing than any of the other times I came. Abby gives me a smile as she steps off the platform, and I get a round of good luck remarks from everyone I pass before stepping on myself. I'm teleported into the ring with my sword on my waist as a weapon. Let's get started. The matches go on, and I bet all in on myself every round, turning 146 platinum into 172 by the time I finish round 6. Though 21 platinum was from exclusively my percent gains of the fighter cuts, hardly any winnings have been from the actual betting payouts themselves. All of the odds are constantly on me. I've made quite the name for myself, and no one wants to bet against me other than a few drunkards that want in on the potential 20x plus payouts for me losing. The announcer yells out with a happy tone as I move onto the 7th stage. It looks like we really have a crowd favorite tonight. Let's make some noise for the main event. I grab my sword tight and watch the level 685 ghoul appear before me while the crowd goes wild. Everything slows down as I breathe in and out, focusing large amounts of chi into my blade. It almost overflows as I let every drop trickle in and run forward with all of my buffs activated, including my new and improved extreme speed skill. The instant the announcer gives the go-ahead for the match to begin, my chi-soaked blade is already challenging the edges of this monster's borrowed soul energy. I smirk as my first attempt slices through over a full third of its depth before the density of the energy is too much, and it begins eating away at my sword's infused chi. I activate my Hydra's buffs and jump backwards with the insane multipliers boosting my already monstrous speed and power. I doubt anyone in this ring can perceive what's happening below them. The only ones with any possibility of understanding what's going on are Monk, Maria, Abby, and possibly the other legacy fighters to a certain extent. With none of this on my mind, and only the enemy before me in my sights, I dive back in. Over and over, I attempt slicing through with more refined and different shapes of chi infused into my blade. After over 10 attacks go by, my chi stores are already nearing half, and I think of an interesting idea. Maybe this could work. Throwing out the same attack will only get me so far. It's great practice in refining my chi control bit by bit, but it's clear I won't be able to break through its energy without drastically increasing my chi capacity's base. But what if I just made the energy I'm trying to cut through weaker? With a sly grin and blade tightly grasped, I activate my Hydra's buff before I even run toward the ghoul on this attack. When I swing my blade, I don't even aim to kill it. I just narrowly miss, aiming only for the aura surrounding its body. On contact with its energy, my crimson veil disintegrates its orange energy in an instant as I fly past. Once I turn around, the energy seeps out from its body and begins to grow back. But that doesn't stop me from running at it again. Over and over, just like my previous attacks, I fly by the ghoul with speed too fast for it to track over 10 more times in under 2 seconds. Chunks of its energy are melted away, and I get more efficient at moving my blades and body to cover higher surface areas and take more energy each time I pass. At first it doesn't make a dent, but by the 10th try I can see the aura around this ghoul has dwindled slightly. Doing all of this work with the red Hydra's buff is not going to be pretty for me afterward, but at least I get to test my theory out. Another 10 slashes go by, and to the audiences around, streaks of red aura fill the stadium as another 2 seconds pass. The orange aura falls to less than half of what it was when I started this match, and I give it yet another 10 slashes to bring it to a state where I'm almost certain my blade could penetrate solely infused with my own chi. I come to a halt on the far side of the ring, deactivating my crimson aura, and feeling a wave of fatigue and discomfort fall over me. Using my newly upgraded self-regeneration skill, I heal myself to the best of my abilities, but it doesn't do very much at all with the limited time I have to act. I still get the sensation of wanting to fall to my knees even as I see the angry screeching ghoul come running at me from my left side. This is it. I push through the pain and reactivate all my skills with active battle buffs and turn straight toward my enemy wielding a chi-infused sword. I allow my swordsmanship skill to take over and my aching body and bones follow the guiding line right at the monster's midsection. The orange cloud around the monster looks 1/4 the thickness it did at the start of this match, and my blade filled with chi has not wavered in strength at all. The ghoul, shielded by a dwindling orange light, is sliced in two by a crisp white-hot wave. Both of its halves lay motionless on the floor. Level up, level up, level up, level up. I hit level 633 and 226 platinum are credited to my balance while the crowd erupts in cheers. The announcer hypes up my victory, while I smile and deactivate my buffs. I continue to self-regenerate my aching muscles and bones, standing straight with my sword raised in the air. It really wasn't that difficult to defeat as long as it's worn out. Maybe if I were to battle it long enough with its aura activated, it would run out naturally. Or if I used multiple chi pills in a match, and made it use up its power destroying my own, that might be faster. I start scratching my chin, thinking of more possibilities of how I could get the same result without my Red Hydra's buff for the future. The announcer continues to stall while the crowd is still hyped, showing close-up recaps of the fight to the eccentric audience. It doesn't seem too odd to me, but at the back of my mind, I'm waiting for the announcer to ask me if I'd like to move on so I can leave the ring and get fully healed up by Abby. However, it seems there are more reasons than one for this delay. Before I realize what's going on, out of the corner of my eye I see multiple black armored knights enter the ring via small white blips of teleportation magic. I activate my perception skills and turn to see a main guard unlike all the others. It's twice the size of the other three, and already less than 5 meters from my back. The monstrous guard's metallic voice rings through my ears like some kind of telepathy skill. Congratulations! You'll be participating in the 8th stage. Chapter 396. I start to step back, grab the handle of my sword, and activate all of my stat-boosting skills at once. However, the other 3 guards blip over to me faster than I can even react. 2 place their hands on my arms, and another stands at my back, raising a dark black sword of its own, not letting me move anywhere but forward, closer to the 3.5-meter tall royal guard. Its robotic, static tone vibrates through my head again. This is an order from the Dark One. Almost immediately, before I can react, the guard with his sword at my back speaks in a low static tone too. You'll be awarded the full 10% of betting transactions on this match. Consider it a gift for entertaining the king. I think about activating my Red Hydra's buff and breaking out of this dome entirely for a moment, but stop myself before doing anything too rash. The taller guard looks down at me and speaks again. Use all of your abilities. Stolen power or not, you'll need it. Before I can blink or even try to respond, all 4 of the guards disappear in a flash of white light. Using all of my scanner skills, their items and status came up with distorted access denied messages covered in weird letters and question marks. Our interaction only lasted a second at most, but I couldn't gauge their strength or capabilities at all. The roaring crowd and the announcer's voice come back to my senses. Let's give it up one last time for the Flame Emperor. Now, I'm sure we all thoroughly enjoyed the show, but I have to ask, will you be moving on to the 8th stage? The arena goes silent, and some audience members in the crowd are already turning to leave in order to beat the lines and crowds that follow after an event like this. However, people start to grow restless when I don't immediately decline. What's taking him so long? Why isn't he moving? Is he that hurt from the fight before? There's no way he's actually considering it. A monster over level 700? Is that even possible? I don't know, man. I've never heard of anyone challenging the 8th stage. I take a deep breath in and out, assessing my situation. Ember, Monk, and Lith, all possibly stronger and wiser than myself, told me I'm surely not strong enough to fight the Dark One. Considering this, it would not be a good idea to get on its bad side right now. If I'm still just this entity's evening entertainment, it's best I don't disappoint. On top of that, opportunity awaits. It's time to push my limits even further and put on one heck of a show. Once I've made up my mind, I step forward and raise a thumb straight up in the air. Bring it on. The audience and the announcer both stay silent again. Whispers and small talk in the crowd cease while their minds begin to register what's happening. An eruption of cheers makes the stadium shake, and after a 10-second pause from the announcer that seems like a lifetime of waiting, he finally speaks again. This narrative has been purloined without the author's approval. Report any appearances on Amazon. Our first challenger of the 8th stage, the Flame Emperor, will be facing off against a level 779 Wraith. Let the betting begin. I can barely hear myself think with the crowd yelling around me and the announcer's voice echoing through the stands. He's continuously hyping up the next match and yelling out the live betting odds while I lean against my sword dug into the ground by my side. Controlling my breathing, I take the remaining time I have in between matches to use my self-regeneration skill while plundering as much excess mana in the ring as possible to heal my fatigue. About 3 minutes pass before the fans begin getting extra rowdy, but this is enough for me to heal myself back up to fighting condition. Luckily, I only had my buff active for a few seconds last match and didn't have to use too much extra power. I may not be at 100%, but I've fought in worse condition. The announcer begins counting down from 10, signifying the betting is close to ending, and that the match will soon begin. I raise my sword in the air and let it flicker with flames to show the crowd I'm ready to fight, and bet 26 platinum on a 1.87x multiplier for me to win. This leaves a clean 200 in my balance. I have no idea what my opponent will really be like, so it wouldn't be wise to go all in on a gamble match like this. It seems like a lot of people still believe in my abilities to win, but there are definitely a lot of doubtful bettors that feel the outcome of this match is unpredictable. Considering the 10% take from the house, the audience's bets are nearly split 50-50ths down the middle. The screams of anger and joy coming from the stands show the conflicting opinions are mostly just excited fans throwing their money on an extra bonus event they never knew was even happening tonight. Not a single person in this stadium knows what's about to happen in this Stage 8 matchup. 3, 2, 1. I activate my perception skills to their max and ready my weapon along with my other abilities at a moment's notice. 0. Let the match begin. A large white flash of light appears at the far side of the ring. My scanner skills immediately pick up a similar status to the ghouls I faced in the round before. LV 779. Rating pops up on the top, and no skills or items appear in its other status boxes. The only thing I see is the familiar-looking buff, Curse Mark of the Lich King, at the bottom of its status before my attention is brought to the hand of a skeleton that emerges from the white light. I activate all my stat-boosting buffs in this moment. As the rest of the teleportation magic fades, a black cloak hovering about half a meter above the arena floor is left in its place. There are no facial features visible through its shadowy hood, and the bony hands I watched emerge from the white magic before are connected to thin bone-white arms that protrude from the wavering black mass. It looks as if there is a breeze fluttering the edges of its ripped-up and tattered cloak, but the air in this arena is still. An overwhelming aura fills the ring like a dreadful version of my intimidation skill. So in return, I activate mine and let our invisible energies clash. The ring fills with a buzz of power, and an orange aura comes seeping out from the creature's robes. Streaks of black energy leave the wraith's body as the orange soul energy leaks out, mixing into the aura and staining it a much darker color closer to crimson brown. It raises both of its bony hands in the air, revealing 10 individual bones for fingers, then moves its shadowy hood right in my direction. If it had eyes I could see, they'd definitely be staring directly at me right now. 2 orbs of dark orange and black energy begin to grow in both of its hands, and I take this as a cue to activate my Red Hydra's buff and prepare for the worst. An eruption of power beams off me as I grip my sword and run in a zigzagging pattern as fast as I can, but the monster's jet black hood tracks me with ease. The orbs in its hand glow brighter and brighter as it concentrates soul energy in its bony palms, and I wait for it to make the first move. I don't want to get anywhere near it before I know its capabilities. Just from my visual senses, along with my enhanced mana and chi perception, I can tell this energy is multiple times denser than the ghouls in the previous round. However, these black streaks are a mystery to me. The only thing clear is this is a monster on a level I've never witnessed in person before. Controlling my breathing, keeping my eyes locked on my enemy, and channeling chi into my sword along with the overflowing fire magic of multiple element stones, my own skill, and the overwhelming buff of the Red Hydra coursing through my body, I feel like an unstoppable force. However, as the wraith swings its left hand, sending an orb of hot orange energy hurtling through the air toward me, my survival instincts scream for me to run. Without a moment's hesitation, I harness every drop of energy I possess and lunge to the opposite side of the ring, driven purely by the primal urge to escape imminent danger. My neck cranes to the side as it swings its right hand too, releasing the second orange orb. My heart races faster, and I use chi-infused steps, extreme speed buffs, and even wind magic to push myself away from the ominous approaching ball of light. But it's no use. The attack I previously dodged turns in midair, rocketing back toward me at an even faster speed than it started. In the same instant, the other orb shifts its momentum to follow me too. Fractions of a second later, I'm backed up against a wall, with both orbs of energy closing in. Chapter 397. With nowhere to run but up. I use 2 massive air steps full of wind magic to boost myself upward, nearing the upper limits of the mana-shielded dome. The orbs follow, but I swing my flaming crimson aura-covered sword downward as there is nowhere left to run. If I can't block this long-range attack, I might as well just forfeit now. That would be the easy way out. If I fall below 10% health, I'll be instantly transported outside the ring and lose the match. If I allow that to happen, I won't be able to learn the secrets of the stronger version of the Lich King's soul energy. It may be the one and only chance I get, so I have to continue. As I swing my sword down, the 2 orange orbs continue to rise up at a faster and faster speed. I can see the black-robed wraith far below me with its skeletal arms lifted in the air, somehow manipulating this energy. Once the energies collide, a sizzling sound vibrates through the entire arena. I put my feet backward to hit the mana-shielded wall, and an extra additional force pushes me forward to face the incoming attack. The glowing edge of my blade sinks deep into the orbs, and the energy around them starts to bubble like a hot knife dropped into a tub of butter. The deeper it sinks in, the more they bubble, and the closer my body gets to the approaching orbs, the more the energy is dispersed. By the time my blade slices all the way through, both balls of energy explode into plasma that continues its upward momentum to splash against the top of the arena dome. I feel an outer layer of my Red Hydra's buff tear away from my sword, and every point that made contact with the orbs. But in the same instant, I see the explosion of orange energy being eaten away and dissipated in the same reaction. I continue to fall downward and catch myself from hitting the floor with a combination of earth and air magic before I get too close to a dangerous impact. However, my eyes still stay locked on the orbs of energy dispersing above me. Along with the trail of red energy leaking from my blade and body, the even more fascinating part about it is the 2 energies destroying each other on contact. The sizzling and bubbling reactions from before were just the 2 soul energies fighting and disintegrating each other upon making contact. The layer around my entire body as a whole stayed intact, but this is the first time I've seen any part of the Red Hydra's buff be destroyed. By the time the 2 energies colliding above me completely eat each other up, the thin crimson layer of energy that was lost from the attack regenerates around my body and sword. It reminds me exactly of how the ghoul's soul energy regenerated in my last matchup. Up above me, there is still some leftover red aura stagnating in the air, but it is impossible to control, just like the natural red cloud that is left behind me when I activate this buff. Before I can think too hard about it, the activation of another 2 orbs of magic appear in the wraith's open palms. I run forward in a zigzagging pattern again, but it tracks me perfectly and throws both orbs of light at once. I go through the same gut-wrenching instinct-driven battle before the orbs of light are destroyed by my aura-covered sword, but a small portion of my buff is stripped away and destroyed as well. This tale has been pilfered from Royal Road. If found on Amazon, kindly file a report. This time when I hit the floor and see it charging up another attack, I decide to take a different plan of action. I've already used my buff to the point now where if I deactivate it, I'm most likely going to be out of commission until an outside force heals me. So, I might as well go all out. This ability allows all of my skills to be aided and boosted while activated. So I'm going to play every card in the hand I've been dealt. Once the next double attack of orbs is sent toward me, I burst into a deadly display of jet black flames that fills a quarter of the arena up with fire almost instantly. The edges of the flames are coated in a crimson veil, constantly being buffed by the Hydra, and when I jump to dodge the incoming orbs, my flames only spread further. While covering nearly the entire arena floor with flames, I use earth magic combined with telekinesis and wind to summon spikes of stone from the ring floor and send them hurtling toward the wraith. Even these are coated in a thick red aura. The tone of the battle completely shifts in an instant. For the first time since the beginning of the match, I watch the monster at the back of the ring move. It shifts, floating quickly and gracefully through the air about 10 meters to the side to avoid the incoming crackling flames. However, when it sees the spears and pillars of stone approaching, the monster does not even bother to move. I block its orbs of light with my sword again, releasing a portion of crimson aura to nullify its attack. Then, simultaneously see my massive stone bullets hit the creature at point-blank range. Grinning wide underneath my mask, I jump backward after deflecting its attack and generate even more flames to cover the floor while plundering thousands of MP from the dome behind me. During this explosion of black and red flames, the supercharged fragments of stone pierce right through the wraith's body. I watch 6 large sharp stone spears stab right through its midsection, while smaller ones collide with its head and arms. A loud series of cracks is followed by dozens of bone fragments flying high into the air. Fingers, arms, and shattered white fragments of mass fly off in all directions as the excitement of the kill powers more and more hot black fire from my body. The larger attacks that hit its torso and head, however, have a much different reaction than the exposed limbs. My eyes widen as I watch the stone come out the other side of its wavering robes without a single drop of red aura left on them. It's almost like the black cloak turned into an energy-sucking black hole, and once the stones fall out the other side, I even lose the connection of my manipulation skill with them. They fall to the ground with a loud series of thuds. At the sight of this, I begin to gather even more power together. If these attacks didn't do enough damage, I'll hit the monster straight on with my strongest element. I charge my sword with all the mana I can infuse from the wall behind me, as fast as possible before the wraith can recover or throw in an attack it can't possibly take head-on. Then, in an instant, I swing a dense dark fire-imbued blade of mana covered in a veil of crimson aura. The monster's arms have been blown away, but it's still floating in the air, unmoving, staring straight at me. As the blade of flames rockets directly at its torso again, I feel the dreadful aura from the beginning of the match return in even greater intensity. The ring feels as if it's being suffocated with a dark and heavy force, but none of it is visible to the naked eye. It's all in my mind. The second this happens, the fractured bones, hands, and arm parts come floating back to the wraith, covered in a dense orange energy that is swirling with more black streaks than before. Each of the fragments and bones reconnects to the wraith's torso at the same instant that my black blade of flames makes contact with its body straight on. The wraith shifts its stance, taking a step to the left-right before it's hit and split clean in two. However, my mana blade's red veil of energy disintegrates and the innards of black flames fall to the floor behind it, even as it's split in two. Its black cloak separates in half, exposing a full bone-white skeleton in a sea of churning black energy. The cloak itself isn't even a cloak. It's just an energy manifestation covering its skeletal body and keeping it floating in the air. Deep within the wraith's bony ribs is a bright orange pulsing heart. My mana blade missed it by just a few centimeters. If it hadn't moved its body right before being hit, that heart would have been split in two as well. I jump to the other side of the ring, charging up another identical attack while summoning ice, earth, and wind magic to act as miniature distractions in the meantime. While I do, the ominous creature keeps its head pointed at me and both of its halves come back together. 2 more orbs appear in its hands. These ones are tinted black and hardly show the glimmers of orange beneath their surface. Chapter 398. It has a heart. My eyes lock onto the bright orange energy source beneath its layers of black energy manifested cloak. It avoided being hit there on purpose, so I know this is exactly where I need to land my final blow. The moment its halves comes back together, the battle is back on instantly. I release another mana blade full of fire, and in response, the monster throws its swirling black balls of energy my way. The wraith doesn't bother dodging, but to conserve energy and test out what this new attack will really be, I do. I immediately air-step back and recharge my sword with the mana in the air and dome behind me while 2 orbs of black swirling energy come rocketing toward me. They pierce through the flickering flames that grow higher on the arena floor, disintegrating the red aura around them, and even putting out some of the roaring flames. Wisps of orange seep out from the orbs as their energy is used up to extinguish the flames in their path. But the jet black core only gets faster the closer it comes to me. I use the same strategy as before, pushing myself off the arena dome for extra momentum to face the attack full-on with a charged blade. But upon impact, I face a lot more resistance than I initially expected. Instead of sinking through, the edge of my crimson aura reacts to the black aura in the orb like two identical magnets repelling each other. For a moment, I stop in mid-air, and there isn't even a sound on impact. Then I'm repelled backward and the black orbs are too. I'm thrown back into the arena wall, but get my footing before I hit the dirt floor. Both of the orbs follow with incredible speed, one attacking from the left and the other on the right. I use all my might to block again, but the angles and speed of this secondary surprise attack are too awkward to perfectly line up. I manage to block and repel one with my sword as the other black orb collides into my blind spot on my upper back's left side. There's a moment where the energy repels just like before, but on collision, the orb self-destructs and a wave of orange light erupts from inside. It is hotter, denser, and brighter than any light I've ever witnessed before. On top of that, it's all focused on a single point as the black swirls of energy disperse into the air. The intense sizzling and bubbling sound comes back as I turn around. A massive hole in my red Hydra's aura has been burned straight through, and the smell of burnt metal in the air and plumes of smoke coming from my back signal something is very wrong. The orange light dims, but the sensation of my own power being drained as well doesn't make me feel any better about it. I turn and use my perception skills to see not only my aura has been burned through, but my layer of mana shielding, Salamander King's cloak, and even a portion of my Berserker King's blood-bonded armor set. The moment my red Hydra's aura seeps out from my body to refill the hole in my defenses, I use the self-regeneration skill to heal the portion of bonded armor, but the burn hole in my cloak remains. While gritting my teeth and charging my sword back up, the second orb comes flying my way in the same fashion as before. I block it and it's repelled with a bounce that does not give off a sound at all, but out of the corner of my eye, I see the Wraith charging up two more black orbs. It throws them my way, and before I know it, I'm forced to block two more with my sword and I'm hit at point-blank range with another attack. The black outer casing of swirling energy dissipates the moment it contacts the area just a little to the right of its last attack, releasing another wave of the orange energy that flashes so bright it's almost yellow-white. Sizzles, bubbling, cracks, and smoke erupt from my body, and I jump away again with an even more determined gaze. Another large hole is torn through my cloak and armor, but I have no time to think about aesthetics. The Wraith has already formed another two orbs, and the two remaining in the air are already coming my way. If I keep playing on the defensive like this, I'll surely be battered down until I lose. Stolen content alert. This content belongs on Royal Road. Report any occurrences. My natural aura and armor are enough to take its attacks head-on, and clearly it won't give me an opportunity to block. This monster is only going for the cheap shots when I'm distracted. It may be a cowardly method, but it sure is the smart one. It's keeping me at a distance for a reason. My best guess is it can't take a hit as well as I can. My eyes lock on its torso, using every drop of my red Hydra-infused perception skills to try and locate the orange glowing heart I saw before. However, in the small moment of time I have before a whopping four black orbs come flying my way, I can't manage to pick up a single reading. I make the decision and run straight forward, continuously charging my sword up in order to make the most powerful attack, and completely disregard the orbs of energy coming my way from the sides. One after another, I'm hit on the back, shoulders, and sides as I zip across the ring swinging my sword in an upward motion. I release an energy blade equal to the full power strike I did before while showering the Wraith with the same earth spikes and spears as a bonus. The aura around my body is bombarded by hot acid-like soul energy attacks, and my Salamander's cloak is decimated even more than I imagined it would. My chest plate becomes cracked and melted in places, but I push forward to watch the black blade of flames slice the Wraith in half once again. It gives minimal reaction, releasing another set of orbs my way before the stone bullets destroy its bony hands and arms. I tank the 2 incoming attacks before my aura even fully recovers from the last barrage, and the impact isn't pretty. Almost half of my cloak is burned away, and a huge hole in my armor is made too. This time, it even managed to burn through and touch my skin. I feel a horrific burning sensation, hotter than being covered in lava, but it only lasts an instant. My aura leaks out from deep within me to nullify it almost instantly, and I self-regenerate my skin and armor given the time I have until the wraith's hands and arms need to be put back onto its body. In the same instance, I see its glowing orange heart emerge from the 2 jet black halves, and the only thing on the front of my mind is claiming that prize. I swing downward again, releasing another flaming mana blade. Now at such close range, it's nearly impossible for me to miss. As the crimson-covered mana blade closes the gap, the half of the wraith without a pulsing orange heart shifts its body in front of the attack. It slices right through like butter, but the moment it comes out the other side, the red aura surrounding it is significantly weaker. The other portion of the wraith reconnects one of its arms to the half with the heart, and creates a miniature orange orb, shifting its body, and taking the brunt of the blast with its summoned energy. The red and orange masses collide and disperse, nullifying my attack completely, but I still run forward, getting closer and closer to the dismembered wraith. Its half with the heart attached floats backward, and its dismembered half is left in the dust as I run past. The arena around me feels as if it's slowed down so much in this moment that time has almost come to a halt. The amount of energy being plundered from the arena and put out to charge and block attacks is unfathomable to the average person. To anyone watching from outside the ring right now, it must be nothing but a blur of bright lights and series of loud sounds. What feels like a long series of exchanges to me in here has been less than 5 seconds to the rest of the world since the battle began. I run forward as my black flames from earlier continue to rise higher and fill the arena floor everywhere I step. Charging up another mana blade, the gap between us lessens to 5 meters, and I swing again at its main body. I can hardly even see its arms, energy cloak, or even other attacks being thrown at me. My eyes are on the pulsing heart in its chest, and nothing else matters. I'll kill it here and now. Retreating again will only lead to more cat and mouse, draining my precious energy. I'll have to go on the offensive eventually, and right now is the only time I can catch it by surprise. I have to go all in. The red and black blade slices through the wraith again as it shifts its body, narrowly twisting its heart away from the dense part of my attack. I get less than 3 meters away now, and feel another 2 balls of hot energy hit my back. The intensity burns the remainder of my cloak away and severely damages my armor more, but it's far from the first thing on my mind. I focus deeper, allowing even more of my surroundings to fade away, activating my swordsmanship skill, and see a very faint thread to follow. All I can truly see now is the swirling black energy, a skeletal ribcage, and a bright pulsing heart deep within it. My blade swings right through the wraith's remaining black body, but my eyes are filled with shock once the eerie feeling of dread comes over me again. The same dark feeling I felt when I entered the ring, again in the middle of our fight, and now again the instant my blade makes contact with its darkness. I can feel the swirling darkness of its energy cloak split in half as my blade pierces through it. However, the more I push through, the more energy I feel leaving my own body. The red Hydra's aura is being sucked away from the outer layer of the blade the deeper I pierce through, and the thread from my swordsmanship skill becomes dimmer and dimmer. I have to dig deep to follow it. Pushing through, the tip of my blade is less than half a meter away from the heart, but the red aura around it becomes so thin that holes in its outer layer begin to let black energy seep through. I let a wave of chi rush into the blade, but it doesn't do a single thing to help. The darkness envelopes my sword, and the edges of it begin to crack and crumble. The blade's tip is less than 10 centimeters from the pulsing orange heart, but every ounce of power and momentum has been used up from it to make it this far. Pushing my sword any further may damage it beyond repair, and most likely not even make a fatal blow. My eyes widen and I completely change my momentum. I let the sword fall short, downward, without piercing the heart, and take another step forward, plunging my other free hand deep into the darkness covered in the red Hydra's aura, following the open path carved out by my sword. The tips of my fingers hit the edges of the darkness, and it immediately feels as if I plunged my hand into a bucket of boiling water. However, I don't hesitate to push it further, reaching closer and closer to the bright beating heart. As the skin is melted away from my hand, and the essence of the Hydra is burned away again, I tighten my grasp to feel the pulsing heart and let out a victory yell. I activate Lifesteal and plunder the instant I make contact, and a rush of MP and HP fills my body. I fully grip the beating heart and rip it out of the monster's body. Chapter 399. I pull my hand out of the darkness right through the path it entered, and tight within my grasp is the orange beating heart. It's hot to the touch, and the skin on my hand and arms is continuously being melted off and regenerated with my skills. My mana stores are draining a dense supply from the creature's main power source, and my HP is being brought up to full over and over again as well. Red aura from my Hydra's buff is constantly flowing down my arm to refill the areas that are being burned away, and portions of the Wraith's black swirling energy body swirl toward the heart in my grip. Piles of its shattered bones gravitate toward me, but I don't hesitate to activate more of my skills. Black flames cover the heart while spears of pink mana, stone, and ice are all forced through it as I airstep upward and hold the glowing mass to the sky. In the same instant, I activate one of my oldest skills, Equivalent Exchange. The ability allows me to sacrifice as much of my own HP as I want in order to do the equivalent amount of damage on an opponent. It only works when I can maintain contact with the target until the skill activates. This is the perfect moment to do so. I input over half of my HP as collateral, and a blinding white light forms in my palm. My full body pulses, and I feel my health disappear instantaneously. However, with my Lifesteal skill still activated, more HP soon returns. After this barrage of attacks, the orange heart still glows, but once the casing of mana flames and elemental spears all fall from the punctured and battered heart, the bright orange light begins to dim. Its bones and dark body attempt to follow me upward even further as I near the top of the dome, but its movements slow and the bright light flickers like a candle at the end of its wick. I grasp it tighter, using a reinforced layer of legendary grade Hydra-infused body hardening in my grip, and finally, the heart bursts into pieces, and the light goes out. Level up, 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 level up. January 13th. Wraiths defeated. The outer flesh-like layer of the heart begins to dissolve into thin air the instant I hear all of the level-up notifications going off in my inner ear, bringing me to level 644. With it, the remaining orange soul energy leaves with it, drifting higher into the air and leaving my grasp. However, I still feel something round and extremely hard left in my hand. The author's content has been appropriated. Report any instances of this story on Amazon. I release my soul-crushing grip and my appraisal skill scans the clear marble-sized stone left in my hand. Wraith's Essence Stone, plus 155% mental strength. Hidden passive ability. Inside the tiny clear orb, there's swirling black energy, similar to the mass that surrounded its energy attacks as well as the manifestation of its black cloak-like body. My eyes dart downward to see the aftermath for myself. Its white bones are left shattered in pieces on the arena floor, now being consumed by my residue of black flames. The body it once had dissolved away into the flames as well the moment its soul energy was dispersed. I begin to smile and accept my victory, but I'm stopped before the corner of my lip can turn up any further. Deep in the back of the flaming arena floor, for blips of white light appear. The extremely tall royal guard's voice resonates through my mind before I can even make eye contact with it. It seems you're weaker than we thought. You are not a threat, but I thank you for the show. A notification pops up on my wristband, alerting me that my new platinum balance is just over 326. The main guard disappears in a flash of white light, and one of the others speaks again, continuing in its place while the two by its sides retrieve all of the leftover bone fragments of the wraith. You're authorized to challenge stages beyond the 7th now if you desire. Just know that was the weakest of the 13 dark guards. The dark one is always watching. This guard disappears too, and the other 2 that recover the ashy remains of the wraith disappear soon after. I don't even get a chance to respond. I'm still grasping the wraith's essence stone, floating high above the black flames in the stadium below. Once I finally fall to the ground, I place the item drop under the ripped and burned rags that remain in the front of my salamander's cloak. It's beyond repair, but a fine cover for me to use to place the clear marble into my storage with no prying eyes. I take a deep breath and put out the flames around me, finally deactivating most of my perception and stat-boosting skills. I keep my Red Hydra's buff activated, as I have no idea what will happen to me if I shut it off right now. I'd like Abby by my side before I try. The overwhelming roar of the crowd finally comes back to my senses, and my adrenaline spike ceases, letting reality flow back in at a normal rate and the excited announcer's voice echo through the entire arena. What a show! Our first challenger to ever face the 8th stage. And he won. Let's hear it for the Flame Emperor. Everybody, what an epic battle we just saw. Recaps and slow-mos are shown on a big screen while the announcer continues. Would you like to go on to the next dash? Before he can finish his offer, I put a big thumbs down in the air and put my sword on my waist. Crossing my arms and shaking my head consolidates the point. He laughs over the loudspeaker. Very well, have an excellent night. Until next time. Let's all make some noise one last time for the Flame Emperor. I feel the teleport magic kick in again, and the announcer keeps hyping up the recaps to the crowd as they continue to shake the arena with noise louder than any gathering I've ever witnessed. The intensity of my aura that radiates from my body once I come back to the training room below the ring is powerful enough to instantly knock out every single non-ranked up hunter down here. Over a dozen people hit the floor at once, and even Max and Sia lean against the wall holding their heads. Ace manages to stay upright while Maria, Abby, and Monk stare straight ahead with serious looks on their faces. A blinding green flash of light fills my vision, as the massive summoned rune of Abby's restore skill stretches toward me. She walks closer at a quick rate, but even from a distance the skill is already taking effect. I feel the warm energy seep into my body. Simultaneously, I take a deep breath in and out before deactivating my buff. My body instantly wants to fall limp with fatigue. Every bone feels as if it's been shattered to dust, and my muscles feel like they've turned to hot jelly. In the same instant, Abby's warm, rejuvenating energy courses through my veins and keeps me standing upright. Only a few seconds go by as I stand in place, but the mental battle feels like it goes on much longer. Both extreme pleasure from being healed and pain from the Hydra's aftermath clash at once, making my mind want to go blank. Staring forward, the white room blurs more and more, begging to go dark. However, I hold on tight to my consciousness and endure it. Chapter 400. Slowly but surely, my vision begins to become clear again, and my legs stop trying to give way under me. I begin to focus on my heart beating and heavy breathing slow back down to normal. The pain in my body ceases, but most of the fatigue stays the same. Even so, I step off the teleport platform back into the white training room, and the green glow of Abby's rune on the floor dissipates as well. I accept the incoming hug from Maria and hear her speak in a worried tone. What was that all about? Don't you think that was a little too risky? We step back from each other and I reply, yes, it was, but I didn't quite have a choice in the matter. My eyes dart around the room and see the scene I just caused. Some hunters are waking up, while others are still out cold on the ground or foaming at the mouth. I'll explain later. She nods, and I watch Abby turn around to use a much lighter version of healing magic on the entire room for a split second before turning back. Pretty impressive fight. It looks like you actually went all out. I sigh and walk closer as she eyes my burnt cloak up and down. Yeah, if I had the option, I wouldn't do it again. Even walking now, my energy stores feel completely drained. I don't know by how much exactly, but it feels as if a portion of my Red Hydra's buff has completely been destroyed. It really is borrowed energy. Just like the ghouls, once it runs out, I'll be left with only my own power. I may have another stone left in my storage, but this only proves my point further that this energy resource is finite. We need to get stronger, I whisper while walking past both of my teammates with a half-dazed look in my eyes. The only thing on my mind is every moment of that battle replaying in my head. The Wraith had the upper hand every instant of that match. It was only defeated because of brute strength, willpower, and the perfect combination of using multiple skills and hidden abilities. On top of all of this, that was the so-called weakest of the Dark Guards. There are 12 supposedly stronger, and one can only assume the Dark One is much stronger to order these guards around. The monsters in this city are far out of my league, so far out that they don't even see me as a threat, more so just entertainment. They let me do as I please while inside these walls because they know I can't lay a finger on them. I continue walking forward slowly through the training room, now suppressing my mana aura as many other fighters get up from the floor. The legacy fighters congratulate me on my victory, and Monk praises me for my talents in the ring, but I can hear by his undertones he understands the seriousness of the situation as well. Above us, the crowds slowly disperse, and many fighters get in line to sign up with Mr. Right again before leaving the room. Once he gets to me in line, I politely decline. The narrative has been taken without permission. Report any sightings. I may be busy tomorrow. I don't think I'll be showing up. He smiles and nods. Very well. Even if you show up late, you're always welcome here. The crowds finally calm down, and we go upstairs to leave the arena. Max invites us all to the restaurant bar again. Food and drinks on him to repay the gamble payout he won on my 8th stage match. Maria and Abby look excited and want to celebrate their match victories. I nod and accept. Why not? Let's have a good night. I want to let my teammates celebrate their progress, so there is really no reason not to go. We leave through the golden walls, agreeing to meet with Monk tomorrow around the same time for sparring, and go to the bar with Sia, Ace, and Max. Maria and I take off our masks, but use our concealment items and skills once we leave the public eye, and everyone introduces each other while Abby makes up a backstory about being Maria's old friend visiting the city. As they chat, I look up at the night sky and continue to think about the impossibly high power gap between myself and the monsters lurking in this city. Even as the night goes on and we get luxurious drinks and food, I'm barely present in the conversations. I just rewatch the match clips on my wristband and picture myself fighting the Wraith over and over again. By the time the midnight tax comes around, I still haven't found any solid solution to my problem. The only right answer here is time. I need more time than I physically have to raise my chi capacity. Whatever the Dark One is planning, it knows I won't be capable of stopping it. After another hour or so passes, the legacy fighters get rooms in the upstairs lounge for the night while the three of us leave to roam the city streets. Once we make it to the silver walls, each of us receives a massive payout. My item storage now holds 390 platinum bars. My teammates cash in a hefty sum too, placing their arena winnings in their item boxes. Abby is capable of restoring herself to negate her intoxication but doesn't until we get far outside the city walls. Maria tells me to let her enjoy the walk too, but once we're ready to head back to the Galeheart Tower, I share my self-regeneration perk with her, and she sobers up. Once far out of sight from the city, we all take out a teleportation crystal and find ourselves back in the lobby. Maria speaks up. So, back to farming? Abby replies as we enter the elevator and go toward the dungeon access room. Yeah, we have a lot more time than yesterday. We can gain some serious levels and resources. Right? I really want to get enough ice stones to craft a nice set. The elevator door opens as we walk into the teleport room and grab a few transport crystals each. I reply as we make our way down to the cave system. How about I let you two farm alone tonight? I think I need to rest up in an isolation pod. I have a lot to think about. Simultaneously, I reach into my item storage and pull out the containment case that holds the remaining Red Hydra's soulstone. I open it with a click and place the stone into my storage without a casing. Its violent swirling energy ceases to react the moment it hits the pocket world in stasis, just like the element stones. After closing the case, I hand it to Maria. You can use this to hold any new stones you farm without worry of them going bad. She smiles and takes it. So, our explanation of that 8th stage fight is going to have to wait? Yeah. I really need some time to rest. Abby interjects. My restoration really didn't do the trick? I shrug and let out a tired chuckle. It did more than enough. I'd probably be passed out or worse if you didn't heal me on time. I just pushed the limits too far. After some time in a pod, I'll be better at explaining things and have a clear next plan of action. Fine, don't complain when both of us blow past you in levels tonight. Abby smirks and jumps through the swirling portal of the Red Ogre's dungeon. Maria smiles at her remark and jumps through too. I follow, teleporting them into the Icy Serpent dungeon and Red Speedster dungeon in the labyrinth before crushing another crystal and blipping back to the tower. I agree to come back to train with them if I'm feeling better. And if not, they'll use their teleport crystals to come back to the tower in 10 hours before the training session with Monk. Once I return, my eyes are threatening to close as I make my way to the isolation pod room. As I walk in, I notice there's already a pod in use on the far left side that says just over 4 hours remaining on it. 4 hours, 6 minutes, and 55 seconds. Considering the pods make time pass roughly 6 times faster inside, 4 hours would be a full day. I whisper under my breath while getting inside the pod all the way on the other side. That's exactly what I need. I enter 4 hours on the touchpad, close the heavy metal door to surround myself in the dense mana-imbued mist, then finally take a chi pill to restore my core back to full. My eyes shut, letting the dense waves of mana rejuvenate my body, and I fall asleep in a matter of seconds.